What scars Mercury's surface? What hides beneath Venus's clouds? How does the sun shape the system? Night falls gently over the blue home we call Earth. The final glow of sunset fades, and the sky above shifts from pale blue to deep indigo. A hush settles over the land as daylight's bustle comes to an end. In this quiet moment, the world seems to exhale a long, soft sigh of relief. High overhead, the first stars blink into being. They are faint at first, shyly peeking through the twilight. One by one, more appear, tiny beacons of light scattered across a darkening dome. You tilt your head upward, letting your eyes adjust, and there they are, familiar stars coming out of hiding as the day's last colours drain from the horizon. The air cools slightly and carries the subtle scents of night-blooming flowers and dew forming on the grass. A gentle breeze stirs the trees, rustling leaves in a soothing lullaby. As the sky darkens, the outlines of distant hills melt into the growing dusk. Shadows that stretched long at sunset now dissolve into the tender darkness. Somewhere nearby, a bird calls one last time before night's silence fully descends. In a window, a warm lamp is turned off, leaving just the silver light of a rising moon to softly illuminate the scene. Moonlight begins to wash over rooftops and fields, painting them in gentle shades of blue and grey. Standing under the heavens, you feel the tender embrace of night all around you. It is a comforting darkness, not at all lonely, filled with the quiet presence of countless stars. Each star twinkles with a steady patience, as if knowing that there is no hurry now. Time itself seems to slow. The noises of the day have hushed. In the distance, maybe the faint sound of waves brushing the shore can be heard, or the whisper of wind across open plains. Closer by, perhaps you hear only your own calm breathing and the rhythmic beating of your heart. Under this sky, all is still and peaceful. Above, the broad band of the Milky Way emerges, a faint milky ribbon stretching across the night. Millions of stars woven together form this softly glowing arch, reminding anyone who gazes up that we live on a tiny world adrift in a sea of stars. The sight invites wonder without demanding any thought, just quietly inspiring a sense of connection to something vast and eternal. Here, at twilight's gentle end, you allow yourself an unhurried gaze upward. The infinite expanse of night welcomes you. It's as if the sky has opened a doorway, inviting you to step into a realm of calm and curiosity. As you look up, you remember that people have been doing just this, pausing to marvel at the night sky, since the very first evenings of humanity's memory. The first stars you see might be ones with ancient names whispered through ages. Perhaps that bright star, low in the west, is Venus, the evening star, shining steadily. Higher up, maybe you catch sight of a spark that could be Jupiter or Mars with its faint reddish hue. These wandering lights have had stories told about them for thousands of years. But even the common stars, those countless distant suns, each holds a story too. In this gentle darkness, you can imagine ancient families and wanderers doing exactly what you are doing now. They would gather under a similar sky, feel the same cool breeze, and watch as night unveiled its tapestry of lights. The scene around you might change. Maybe once it was a grassy plain or the mouth of a cave, but the sky above remains the same canvas of stars. The thought is comforting. Across centuries and civilizations, night after night, humans have found peace and meaning by looking at these stars. The sky is like a soft blanket that all of us share, stretching over every sleeping village and every silent forest. No matter who or when or where, any person can look up and be gently humbled and comforted by the same celestial lights. As darkness deepens fully, more stars reveal themselves in subtle swells. At first, only a handful, then dozens, then hundreds, until the entire sky is sparkling quietly. If you keep your gaze steady, you might even catch a shooting star silently streaking across the darkness for a brief moment, a tiny grain of cosmic dust blazing a trail before fading away. It's gone almost as soon as it appeared, but it leaves behind a feeling of awe, like a small secret between you and the night. In the comfort of this nightfall, you let your mind wander among the stars. You may wonder what they are, those distant pinpricks of light. In the stillness, an answer isn't needed. It is enough to simply feel their presence watching over the sleeping world. As a gentle yawn escapes you, you feel in sync with an ageless ritual. Day creatures have found their rest, and now the time belongs to the night, and to all who find solace under its dome. All around, the blue home of Earth is turning away from the sun, spinning into shadow. The part of the world where you stand has moved into night, following the eternal rhythm of light and dark. Yet even in darkness, the Earth offers us these lights from above. It's as though the sky, sensing that we might fear the dark, scattered diamonds across its canvas to reassure us that we are never alone. This is the beginning of a journey, a slow, gentle journey that starts simply by looking up at the night. Under the quietly glowing sky, you feel curiosity stir alongside peace. There's a question forming softly in your heart, a wonder about those lights above and the stories they hold. You know you are about to drift deeper into that wonder, carried slowly by the lullaby of the stars and the knowledge that countless others before you have done the same. Long ago, in those first nights of wonder, our ancestors looked up at the same darkness and sprinkled it with names. Imagine a time before cities and electric light, when the night was truly dark and the stars were countless and bright. In that ancient night, a small family might be gathered around a gentle fire beneath an open sky. The flames flicker softly, but above them, the stars shine steadily. A parent lifts a hand toward the heavens and points out a particularly bright star, giving it a name. Perhaps they call it the Great Spirit's Eye, or the Hunter's Torch, or simply something like the Guiding Light. The exact words are lost to time, but the act of naming is real. Under that endless sky, giving names to the lights made the darkness feel more familiar, more friendly. In nearly every culture, people found comfort in naming what they saw above. They looked at the brightest stars, the ones that appeared each season, or hovered reliably at certain times of night, and they called them by names that meant something to them. Some names were practical, marking directions or seasons. Other names were born from stories and myths. There were stars named for heroes and heroines, for animals and legendary creatures, and for gods and goddesses. By saying a star's name, one could feel a kinship with it, as if greeting an old friend shining in the night. The vast darkness of night could be intimidating and unknown, but with familiar names scattered across it, it became like a storybook open above, rather than an empty void. To an early desert wanderer, knowing the name of a star that rose each evening in the east might have brought reassurance that he was on the right path. To a child in a hillside village, hearing that a particular twinkling light was the lantern of a kindly goddess might have eased fear of the dark. The stars, once named, were no longer just cold, distant points. They carried meaning and warmth from human imagination. Even before writing, people passed down these star names in their songs and stories. Around fires, and in the safety of their dwellings, elders would tell the younger ones about the lights above. They would gesture toward the sky and recount how a certain star got its name. Perhaps they told of a great hunter placed among the stars for his bravery, or a faithful animal companion immortalized in the night. One can almost hear the soft murmurs of such storytelling under a blanket of stars, voices low and filled with wonder, blending with the crackle of embers and the occasional call of a night bird. Over time, patterns emerged as people connected one named star to another. A few bright stars could form the outline of a figure or an animal in the mind's eye. Early sky watchers would say, "This group of stars over here, see how they form the shape of a man? That is the hunter." Or, "See those stars curving like a tail? That is the great serpent." By naming not only individual stars, but also these groups, they turned the sky into a grand tapestry of pictures and stories. Imagine the sense of comfort that provided. No longer was the night sky a random scatter of lights. It was alive with characters and tales that one could learn and recognize. Instead of feeling lost under an unfathomable dome, a person could lie back and pick out familiar friends. There is the great bear walking slowly around the pole, and there is the clever fox chasing the rabbit, or whatever figures their culture cherished. Each society had its own set of constellations and legends, but the impulse was the same: to find connection and meaning in the stars above. These first names for the dark were like a bridge between earth and sky. They made the vast universe feel a little closer to home. To name something is often to begin to know it, and though the stars were distant, naming them allowed people to feel as though they understood a little of their nature. A bright red star might be named for its fiery colour, associated with warmth or war. A gentle white star might be named for peace or water. And when these stars rose or set, their appearances could signal times to plant or harvest, times to prepare for winter or to celebrate spring. The names carried practical knowledge entwined with mythic significance. In the gentle ambience of a clear night, you can almost feel those ancient gazes alongside yours. When you see a particularly bright star twinkling above, consider that someone thousands of years ago likely had a name for that star. Perhaps they murmured it softly with reverence or joy as it came into view each night. The stars have heard countless names whispered up to them, and though languages have changed and entire civilizations have risen and fallen, the stars remain, bearing those old echoes of human voices. Through naming, fear of the dark was eased. The unknown became known, at least in stories. Picture a child in a nomadic tribe centuries ago, looking up anxiously at what might lurk in the dark. The elder beside them points upward and says, "Do not fear. See that bright cluster? That is the hearth of the sky. Our ancestors are sitting around it, keeping it burning so we always have light." The child, comforted by this vivid image, might smile and watch the cluster of stars as though seeing a distant campfire of loved ones. So names and stories turned the night into a sanctuary of the imagination. Each star became a friendly beacon, each constellation a chapter from a cherished legend. As we relax under our modern sky, we too can sense that ancient peace. We might make out a few star patterns and recall their names, or even invent our own quiet names for the stars we particularly love to see. It's an old habit of humanity that still lives within us, giving the darkness its first names and finding comfort in those familiar points of light that carry our dreams. And as those patterns and named star groups gently guide our eyes, we find ourselves tracing lines between the lights. The sky's characters become clearer, and their relationships form a picture. It's time to follow those softly drawn threads, linking star to star, as the constellations come alive overhead. Up in the sky, the stars form patterns like a giant connect-the-dots puzzle, if you only look carefully and let your imagination play. After all, once people named the stars, the next natural step was to draw lines between those stars to weave them into pictures. On a clear night like this, you might trace out some shapes yourself. See how those 3 bright stars in a row stand evenly spaced in a straight line. They form the belt of Orion, the hunter, who is depicted standing tall in the sky. With a little effort, you can imagine the outline of his figure. 2 stars mark his shoulders, and 2 more his feet. In one hand he might hold a bow or a club, and nearby a cluster of stars could be the quarry he's hunting. Orion, a legend from ancient times, has stood in the winter heavens for thousands of years, recognizable by those 3 belt stars. Countless eyes have found him there and remembered the story attached to that pattern. Not far away, another grouping forms a shape like a large ladle or spoon. Many know it as the Big Dipper, part of a greater constellation called the Great Bear, Ursa Major. 7 bright stars trace the outline, 4 to form the bowl, and 3 making a curved handle. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you've likely spotted these at some point, and might have even been shown them by someone else. "Look, there's the Big Dipper," they might have said. And once you saw it, it became a familiar friend in the sky. For others in different times and places, that same pattern was a celestial bear lumbering eternally around the North Star. Yet others imagined it a wagon, or a plough, or a dipper of water. The stars themselves don't mind. They happily host all our different tales. Each constellation is like a gentle thread stretching from our memory to the stars themselves. When you recall a story or a shape for a set of stars, you are reaching back into the collective memory of humanity. For hundreds or even thousands of years, people have looked at those very stars and seen the same figures you do now. Imagine an ancient mariner on a calm sea at night, gazing up to find the constellation of Orion or the Great Bear. By recognizing it, he feels a sense of orientation, a companionship in the otherwise lonely darkness. The same pattern that guided him guides you. In that moment, across time, you share an experience. Some constellations are seasonal, revealing themselves only during particular times of the year. When they return to the night sky after a long absence, it's like greeting an old friend. "Ah, there you are again," one might whisper, as the stars of Scorpius curl up from the horizon on a warm summer night, or as Orion's form reappears on a crisp autumn evening. These patterns mark the turning of the year. They reminded our ancestors of planting times and harvests, of seasonal rituals and celebrations. Seeing the Pleiades cluster rising before dawn, for instance, signaled to some communities that it was time to prepare fields for planting, as surely as any calendar on a wall today. The stars' positions carry the rhythm of time, and the constellations are the notes of a beautiful, slow melody that plays out over 12 months. If you lie back and softly let your eyes wander from star to star, you can weave your own constellations too. The sky is an open-ended storybook. Perhaps you connect a few faint stars between brighter ones and notice a shape that no one told you about, but which feels personal to you. Maybe those stars look like a kite, or a tree, or some symbol that only you recognize. In the quiet of your mind, you can give it a name, and just like that, you've created a new constellation, if only for yourself, at least in that moment. It's a reminder that while we inherit many starry patterns from those who came before, we are also free to find our own meaning in the stars. The well-known constellations that many recognize today, Orion the Hunter, Leo the Lion, Cassiopeia the Queen, and others, carry rich tales from mythology. But at their heart, these are simply collections of stars that someone long ago decided to link together with imaginary lines. The magic lies in the fact that once drawn, those lines persist in our imagination. When a parent points out a constellation to a child, they are doing more than just teaching astronomy. They are passing on a legacy of wonder. They're saying, "See, I show you what my parents showed me, what their parents showed them, all the way back to people we'll never know. And when you grow up, you might show these same stars to someone else and tell the story again." Thus, the constellations are threads, not only connecting stars to stars, but connecting people across time. Every time you identify a constellation, you join a silent conversation with all the others who have ever spotted that pattern and smiled, recognizing it. It's a comforting thought that no matter where you are, if the sky is clear and you see that familiar arrangement of lights, someone else somewhere might be looking at it too, sharing that moment under the same formation. The lines between the lights in the sky are gentle and imaginary, but the bonds they create among us are very real. They give us a sense of place in the cosmos. We are creatures who love stories, and constellations are among the oldest stories we still share. Each time the night falls and the constellations come into view, it's as if the universe is gently reminding us of those old tales again, whispering them into the darkness. And among these patterns in the sky, one in particular stands apart, not because it forms a grand shape like a hunter or a bear, but because of its steadfast presence. At the center of the slow, circling dance of the stars stands one seemingly still point, the patient star of the north, guiding quietly through the ages. Every night in the northern sky, there is a star that hardly seems to move at all. While all the other stars slowly wheel around, rising and setting, this one holds nearly steady, a quiet anchor in the heavens. This is the North Star, often called Polaris, and for countless generations it has been a reliable guide, standing watch in the same spot through the long night. If you find it and fix your gaze upon it, you'll notice that even as hours pass, Polaris remains in place, while other stars subtly drift around it. It's patient and constant, earning its reputation as a beacon for travelers. Imagine a traveller centuries ago, perhaps a sailor on a calm sea, or a caravan leader in a vast desert. Night has fallen around them, and the world feels trackless and immense. But lifting their eyes upward, they search for that one faithful star. When they find the North Star, shining modestly, not the brightest of all stars, but bright enough to spot, they know where north lies. With a quiet relief, they can orient themselves. On the open ocean, or across shifting sands, with no landmarks in sight, that little point of light becomes a compass in the sky. The traveller whispers a thank you to the night for offering such guidance, then adjusts their course gently, trusting Polaris to lead them true. Polaris sits nearly directly above Earth's northern axis, which is why it hardly moves from its spot. It's like the tip of a giant invisible top around which the heavens seem to turn. In northern latitudes, people noticed this peculiarity very early on. They gave the star names like Stella Maris, Star of the Sea, or Lodestar, or simply Pole Star. All the names signified its role, a star that could lead you home or onward, as dependably as the sun rising in the east each day. For those on land, it meant knowing the way north, which in turn meant understanding all the other directions, since east would be roughly where the sun rises relative to Polaris, and west where it sets. For those at sea, Polaris meant something even more life-saving, the difference between wandering lost and sailing with purpose. On a personal level, the North Star has come to symbolize a guiding principle or a fixed point in a changing world. Think of how everything in life can shift and change, like the stars that spin across the sky, and yet having one constant, like Polaris above, can bring comfort. As you relax under the stars, perhaps you consider what your own guiding light is, that steady thing that helps you find your way when things around you change. Just the thought is soothing, knowing there's a calm center to the turning world. In the silence of a starry night, looking for Polaris becomes a gentle ritual. You might recall the simple instructions someone once gave. Find the Big Dipper. Use the 2 stars at the end of its bowl like an arrow pointing straight to Polaris. And indeed, by following that line, you find a solitary, medium bright star hanging in an otherwise unremarkable patch of sky. That's it. It doesn't dazzle like Sirius or sparkle with colours like some others, but its power lies in being steadfast. Once you know where to look, you could return night after night and find it right there, as if keeping vigil just for you. While Polaris has been a northern guide, those far in the southern hemisphere have had their own celestial markers, like the constellation of the Southern Cross, to guide their way. But there is a particular poetry about a single star marking the north, a solitary jewel on which so much trust has been placed by navigators and dreamers. One can imagine an old ship captain on deck in the quiet of midnight, the clouds parting for a moment to reveal Polaris. He smiles softly, feeling camaraderie with that star. "There you are, old friend," he might murmur. Then, confident in his heading, he continues his journey across the dark sea. Just as the ancients mastered the art of finding Polaris to guide them, they also learned to use the stars as a whole to map time and seasons. The North Star helped them keep their bearings in space, but the rest of the night sky had more lessons to share. With Polaris as a pivot, the entire night sky turned like a giant clock face, and people learned to read that cosmic clock to mark the hours of darkness and the passage of the year. For now, simply rest, with the knowledge that above us there shines a patient star, never hurried, never wavering. If you ever feel adrift, you can remember Polaris, constant and gentle, a reminder that even in the darkest nights, there is a light you can count on to show you the way. With our minds oriented by this faithful guide, we can flow onward through the night. The stars not only guide in space, but in time as well. As the Earth rotates and the night deepens, one by one, the stars change position like the ticking of a grand, slow clock. The stage is set for the next gentle lesson of the night, the keeping of time by the movement of the heavens and the soothing rhythm of the cosmos marking hours and seasons. As the night grows deeper, it carries with it an ancient sense of time. Long before clocks and calendars, people watched the sky to know the hour and the season. The phrase, "the watches of the night," comes from those early days when the darkness was often divided into parts, like chapters in a quiet story. Perhaps there were 4 watches, from dusk to late evening, from late evening to midnight, from midnight to the hours before dawn, and then the last watch until sunrise. In each watch, different stars would rise or set, and the very feel of the night would subtly change. In the first watch, the world was still settling, people drifting to sleep. By the second, deep night had fallen, and all was still. The third watch, past midnight, might bring the coldest, quietest hours, when only the stars and a sliver of moon kept vigil. And in the fourth, there would be a hint of the coming dawn, maybe a slight lightening in the east, and a few birds stirring as morning neared. By observing these changes, our ancestors could sense the progress of time in the dark. High above, the stars themselves were the original clock hands. Before the invention of mechanical clocks, a careful observer could tell roughly what time it was by which constellations were where in the sky. For example, if a certain star rose above the eastern horizon, it might signal that midnight was near. If a familiar constellation was directly overhead, one knew the night was half over. These methods were not exact to the minute, but in an age without ticking clocks, they were enough. Think of a shepherd looking up to see the Pleiades high in the sky and knowing it was time to gather his flock and head home, or a watchman on a city wall noticing that Orion had tilted westward and realizing his shift would soon end. The moon, with its gentle glow, was another keeper of time's rhythm. In many cultures, people counted their months by the cycle of the moon, new to full and back to new again. Each phase of the moon brought its own ambience to the night. A thin crescent moon at the start of the month would hang low and delicate, offering little light but a lot of beauty as it followed the sun's path down in early evening. As days passed, the crescent grew, and by the quarter moon there was a fair glow lighting up the first half of the night. At full moon, the entire face shone brilliantly, bathing the landscape in silver. On those nights, one might walk the fields or forest paths almost as if it were daytime, guided by the moon's soft radiance. Many nocturnal creatures, and indeed people, were more active under the full moon. Some communities even held gatherings or hunts by its light, something they wouldn't do on a moonless night. Then, as the moon waned to last quarter and dwindled to a slender shape before dawn, the nights grew darker again until the cycle renewed. Each full moon of the year gained special names reflecting the season: harvest moon, hunter's moon, and so on, reminding everyone what period of the year they were in. Over the months, as the moon waxed and waned, the stars were slowly shifting too, heralding the change of seasons. The appearance of certain constellations at dusk was a signal that summer had arrived, or that winter was coming. The great band of the Milky Way might arch directly overhead on warm summer nights, and then tilt to the side in the chill of winter, an unnoticed calendar in the sky. Ancient people carefully noted these patterns. They built their first calendars around the heavens, circles of stone carefully aligned to mark where the sun or a bright star would rise at the solstice or equinox. Imagine a gathering at Stonehenge or some other ancient observatory on the longest night of the year. All through that cold, dark night, people would watch the sky, tracking the stars' slow dance and waiting for the first hint of dawn, when the sun finally rose at a particular notch between stones. They knew the cycle had turned. The days would slowly grow longer again. What a quiet celebration that must have been. Not loud or boisterous, but a collective sigh of relief and gratitude as sunlight broke through after the year's deepest darkness. To live by the watches of the night and the cycles of the moon was to live closely attuned to nature's gentle cues. There was comfort in that predictability. Even now, if you find yourself awake in the deep of night, you can look outside and notice where the moon is, or which stars are visible, and glean something about the hour and season. It's a subtle language the sky speaks, one that humans listened to for millennia. The night wasn't just an empty time to be endured until sunrise. It was a canvas for the progression of time in its own right, filled with meaning and markers. As you breathe calmly in this late hour, think of the layers of time unfolding above you. The quick, busy tick of seconds and minutes that we often chase in daily life fades away now. In its place is a slower rhythm, the sweeping hand of the sky that takes hours to make a move, the lunar month that gently draws us from one phase to the next, the seasonal shift as the stars migrate from east to west across the months. This slow and steady cadence is like a lullaby that has been sung to the earth forever. In recognizing these ancient timekeepers, we also acknowledge a soothing truth. We are part of a grand cycle. Night follows day, the moon grows and fades, winter turns to spring. There is reassurance in these patterns. No matter how uncertain a single day might be, one can look at the night sky and find an enduring order. The heavens, in their patient movements, assure us that life has its rhythms and that there's a time for everything, even a time simply to rest, as we do now. With this sense of the night's gentle order, our journey continues. Humans were not content only to look and marvel. They sought to see ever more clearly into the night. From simple observation, they moved to invention, crafting tools to bring the distant stars closer. And so, under the silent sky, the story of how we learned to drink in more starlight begins, with the creation of glass lenses and the first telescopes that would open up new wonders above. There came a time when simply looking up with the naked eye was not enough for our curious hearts. We wanted to see the stars and planets more clearly, more closely. And so, in the stillness of night, the first small pieces of glass were turned into magic windows to the sky. These were the first telescopes, simple arrangements of lenses that could catch and gather more starlight than an eye alone. It's as if the glass drank the starlight, concentrating it to show faint things brighter and small things larger. Through these humble tubes of wood and glass, the universe opened a little wider to us, all in the midst of quiet nights. Picture one of those early astronomers in the 17th century, perhaps standing on a balcony or a hilltop under the stars. He holds a slender spyglass-like telescope, pointing it at the moon. He has looked at the moon all his life with just his eyes, but tonight, through the lens, he gasps softly. Instead of a smooth, perfect disk, the moon reveals mountains and craters, light and shadow playing across a rugged landscape. It looks almost close enough to touch. That astronomer, in that moment of discovery, feels both excitement and a strange peace, because he is seeing that the moon is a world of its own, perhaps not so different from Earth. The telescope has brought the moon's secrets into view, all while the night remains as silent and calm as ever around him. Encouraged, he turns his little telescope toward Jupiter, a bright wandering star in the sky. At first it's just a small round dot of light, but with careful focus, he notices tiny points of light near it, arranged in a line. Night after night he checks, and those little stars move, changing position around Jupiter. They are moons orbiting another world. This gentle revelation changes how we see our place in the cosmos. Earth is not the only center of motion. There are other centers too. But beyond the profound implications, imagine simply the wonder of it. He has discovered new lights in the sky that no one before had seen by using this quiet tool. It's like hearing a whisper from the universe that had always been present, but needed a special ear to be heard. Word of these discoveries spread slowly, often met with skepticism, in a world still coming to terms with what a telescope could do. But more and more people crafted lenses and peered at the heavens, confirming and expanding upon those early sights. The rings of Saturn, for instance, appeared to one observer as mysterious handles or ears on the planet, so startling and enchanting that he drew them carefully, unsure of what they were. Over time, sharper lenses revealed them as rings, encircling that distant planet in a thin, graceful band. Imagine the patience it took to grind and polish a lens by hand in those days. Then the reward of seeing something no one else had seen so clearly. Even beyond the planets, telescopes uncovered treasures. What looked like a single star to the eye might split into two when magnified, revealing a binary star pair dancing around each other. The Milky Way's faint cloud resolved into countless stars, far too many to count, suggesting that the universe was more vast and filled with stars than anyone had dreamed. Gentle smudges of light in the sky, nebulae and galaxies, came into view, though at first their true nature wasn't known. People just called them clouds or patches. Still, each one observed was a marvel. Each required long, careful gazes through those early telescopes, sometimes in cold or damp night air. But the astronomers hardly noticed any discomfort, so absorbed were they by what the glass revealed. On a cozy evening, you might have had the chance yourself to look through a small telescope, perhaps at a star party, or with a friend who owns one. If so, you likely remember the thrill of seeing a far-off object suddenly become real. The moon's craters through a telescope lens can make you feel as if you're flying above its surface. Seeing Saturn with its rings through even a modest telescope often brings an involuntary, delighted gasp. This elegant world, suspended in the blackness of space, is actually there for your eyes to behold. It almost feels like a dream, that something so seemingly out of reach becomes present in your vision. In our journey tonight, think of the telescope as a gentle companion that helps bridge the immense gap between us and the stars, without disturbing the tranquility of the night. The beauty of those early telescopic nights was how quietly knowledge grew. There were no loud machines, no noisy crowds, just silent lenses gathering faint light, and human eyes and minds absorbing the wonders that light carried. Often, the astronomers would make careful notes by candlelight after each observation, sketching what they saw. These notes and drawings, shared in letters or books, became humanity's first detailed atlas of the previously unseen. And so, with glass that drinks starlight, we learned so much more about the sky above. But to truly appreciate and share these findings, the next step was to map them carefully. The same calm curiosity that led someone to point a telescope upward would lead others to chart the heavens meticulously, under the stars, with quill and parchment, by the dim glow of a lantern or of moonlight. They worked on the first celestial maps. It was time for the quiet cartographers of the sky to leave their mark and help everyone find their way among the multitude of newfound stars. Charting the stars was a labor of love and patience. Once telescopes and careful observation revealed more and more stars, the task emerged: to map the heavens so that everyone could navigate the sky. These were the quiet cartographers of the sky, working mostly at night under the dim glow of lanterns, painstakingly recording the positions of stars like an artist dotting a canvas. In your mind's eye, see an old astronomer in a chilly observatory dome, quill pen in hand, noting down numbers by candlelight after each observation. He has spent hours at his telescope, aiming it at one star after another as they cross the meridian, measuring their angles above the horizon with precise instruments, listening perhaps to the steady tick of a pendulum clock for timing. Each star he measures gets a dot on his chart and a notation: its coordinates in the sky, maybe its brightness and any color tint. It's meticulous work, but he finds a deep satisfaction in it. Over time, the scattered dots form the outlines of familiar constellations on paper, and also include those faint stars, invisible to the naked eye, that his telescope has unveiled. He is extending the known boundaries of the star map, quietly filling in blank spaces with newfound lights. Before such detailed maps, perhaps people had only the stories and rough sky lore passed down verbally. But now, for the first time, one could have a chart in hand that told where exactly to look for a particular star on a given night, much as one might have a map of earthly terrain to find a town or a river. Early star maps were often beautiful as well as useful. The constellations might be drawn as figures on the charts: majestic Orion with his shield and sword, graceful Andromeda, mighty Hercules, sketched around the precise positions of the stars that made up their forms. These maps blended science and art, with delicate engravings and illustrations that had to be done by steady hands in quiet study rooms. They were sometimes coloured softly, perhaps with watercolour washes for the Milky Way, or the backdrop of night, giving them a dreamlike quality. One could get lost in such a map for hours, tracing the outlines and learning the skies without even stepping outside. In various parts of the world, scholars compiled star catalogues and atlases. Ancient astronomers in Greece, China, and elsewhere had created lists of stars long before, but the era of telescopes brought an explosion of new data. By the 17th and 18th centuries, thousands of stars were catalogued with unprecedented precision. Observatories were established, often on quiet hilltops or in the countryside away from city lights, where night after night observers could methodically sweep the sky. They might use instruments with names like sextants and quadrants to measure star positions. Each observation was a quiet event, a careful alignment, a note scribbled, a gentle adjustment, then on to the next star and the next. Consider the mindset of these sky cartographers. They were mapping something they could never touch or travel to, only see from afar. It's a bit like mapping a vast forest by viewing it from a single hilltop. You can see a great deal, but you must infer and compile the details gradually. There were no rockets or aircraft yet to fly among the stars. Everything had to be done from right here on Earth, looking up. And yet, by simply observing and writing, they turned the unknown expanse into a familiar territory. Sailors at sea could rely on published star charts to navigate. They could identify a star and cross-check it with a map to confirm their course. If a new comet or a nova appeared unexpectedly, these maps helped skywatchers recognize something that didn't belong, alerting them to a new phenomenon in the sky. It was calm, diligent work, often spanning many years or even generations. One astronomer might dedicate decades to charting the northern stars, while another in a different part of the world mapped the southern skies that the first never saw. When at last these maps were shared and combined, humanity had, for the first time, a nearly complete survey of the entire night sky, like completing a grand puzzle that had been assembled across continents and ages. Imagine leafing through one of those old celestial atlases on a quiet evening. Each page reveals a different section of the sky, sprinkled with stars marked as tiny dots or asterisks. You see the care in every line drawn, every symbol inked. Perhaps in the margin, the cartographer included notes like, "Observed in 1735, very faint," or "This star appears reddish." It's almost like hearing their gentle voice whispering from the past, guiding you through the heavens as they saw them. These early maps and catalogues gave people a new confidence under the sky. Even if you couldn't identify every star by memory, you knew it was noted and recorded somewhere. The sky felt less like a mystery and more like a familiar frontier. Vast and awe-inspiring, yes, but no longer completely uncharted. The unknown was being slowly illuminated, point by point, like lanterns being lit one after another in a dark hall. With maps in hand, the generations that followed could venture intellectually further than ever. The maps themselves became launch pads for new questions. What are these stars really like? How far away are they? What lies between them? Answering those questions would eventually require stepping beyond just observing from Earth. It would require imagining leaving the safe blanket of air around our planet. And so now, with the sky mapped, our attention turns back to ourselves for a moment, to the edge of our own world. We stand at the boundary between Earth and space, at the thin edge of air where breathing ends and the true vastness of the cosmos begins to whisper invitations to the bold. Now, gently imagine rising upward from the ground, slowly lifting above the world you know. Perhaps you're in a balloon with a sturdy wicker basket, or in a quiet, high-flying airplane, or maybe it's just your thoughts drifting upward like a feather on a breeze. As you ascend, the air grows thinner and cooler. The blue sky around you begins to darken to a deeper blue, then to indigo. The ground below spreads out. What were hills become patches of colour. Rivers turn into shining ribbons. The sounds of earth, wind in the trees, the murmur of distant life, fall away, replaced by a profound silence. You notice your breathing. Up here, each breath is slightly more effort. The air doesn't give as much oxygen as it did below. It's not yet uncomfortable, but you sense the change, and it makes you appreciate each breath, drawn slowly and deliberately. This is the edge of Earth's atmospheric ocean, the place where, if you go much higher, you would need help to breathe, either an oxygen mask or a pressurized cabin. We live at the bottom of an ocean of air, and you are now floating toward the surface of that ocean, where the air becomes scarce. As you continue upward, the horizon bends noticeably, curving downward at the edges. It dawns on you that you can see the curvature of our planet now. the earth showing its roundness gracefully. It's a breathtaking sight, a great dark blue arc against the blackness above. Above you, the sky that was once bright azure is now nearly black, even though the sun might still be illuminating the world below. If it were daytime, you would begin to see stars twinkling even while the sun still hangs in the sky, something impossible down on the ground. At this height, day and night start to blur. The sun is a blazing orb in a black sky rather than a blue one, and the stars don't wait for full darkness. They are there, peeking through the thinning veil of atmosphere. Gravity still holds you, of course. You feel your weight as you always have, though perhaps a little less firmly if you're very high and momentarily in free fall, as some high-flying pilots have experienced. But as you reach the threshold of space, there's a sense of lightness in a different way, a mental lightness, a release. Up here, the usual pull of earthly concerns seems distant. Many astronauts and high-altitude balloonists have described a tranquil feeling when looking back at Earth from these heights, a realization of how small and delicate our planet is, and how thin the atmosphere that protects us. From this vantage, the sky isn't an endless expanse above anymore. It's a fragile layer below, a glowing film of blue hugging Earth's curved surface, beyond which lies the endless night of space. This edge of air is a frontier that humans dreamed about for a long time. For centuries, we could only imagine what was above the clouds. Stories of adventurers trying to reach the heavens appear in myths across cultures. Flying chariots, great birds carrying heroes, towers built skyward. But it remained imagination until just a couple of centuries ago, when balloonists first ascended to truly high altitudes. Think of those first daring balloon flights in the 18th century. People rising higher than ever before, peering over the edge of Earth's blanket of air. They must have marveled at the panorama, how small the towns and fields looked, how the familiar blue faded toward black above. They felt the air grow cold and thin, and they understood viscerally that Earth's hospitable envelope had limits. For you, in this gentle mental journey, reaching the edge of space is not abrupt or jarring. It is serene. The sky fades out softly, stars emerge gradually, and Earth below becomes a comforting sight, a blue marble floating in the cosmic dark. If you extend a hand and open it, you can almost imagine you're cradling the world in your palm, protecting it, cherishing it. Such a perspective brings a tender feeling, a mix of awe and protectiveness and unity with everything down there. Up here, your imagination truly takes flight. With the boundary of air behind you, the only thing ahead is the infinite beyond. You are on the threshold of outer space, where gravity's pull can be escaped for a while, and one can orbit the Earth or travel to the moon and planets. The thought is exhilarating, yet calm, like standing at the door of a quiet cathedral, looking into the vast space inside. One more step, and you'll be floating free. But before we take that next leap, savor this moment. You're at the gateway of Earth's domain and the cosmos beyond. This is where the last breath of our atmosphere mingles with the beginnings of the void. In this in-between place, neither fully Earth nor fully space, you pause. You feel gratitude for the air that has carried you this far, and curiosity for the space that calls out ahead. Our journey will soon carry us through that doorway named orbit, where we truly break the bonds of gravity for a time and circle our planet in endless night. For now, hold this gentle suspense, here at the edge of air, where dreams of space travel hover, about to come true under a silent, star-strewn sky. Orbit. The word itself carries a feeling of motion and freedom. To orbit the Earth is to circle it endlessly, falling around it rather than back down to it. A continuous, graceful free fall. If rising to the edge of the atmosphere is like reaching a doorway, then achieving orbit is stepping through that doorway and standing on the threshold of space, looking both back at home and outward to the beyond. In the mid-20th century, humanity finally learned how to take that step. A slender rocket, after years of imagination and planning, roared to life and pushed a small object beyond the grip of our atmosphere. Not to escape Earth entirely, but to fall just right so that it would keep circling around. That first artificial moon, a simple beeping sphere, silently sailed above the clouds, marking the beginning of the space age. People on the ground went out at night, craning their necks, and some were lucky enough to catch a tiny moving star of light crossing the sky. That was the satellite, a creation of human hands, now looping around our planet. It was a humble beginning, but also a profound one. For the first time, an object made on Earth was orbiting Earth, like the moon has done for eons. Before long, humans followed. Imagine the courage and wonder of the first person to see our planet from orbit with their own eyes. Strapped into a small capsule atop a powerful rocket, they endure the thunderous ascent, and after moments of intense shaking and noise, suddenly there is silence. They unstrap and find that they are weightless, gently floating. Outside the window, a breathtaking sight awaits. The curvature of Earth, luminous against the black of space. Swirls of white clouds, blue oceans, brown and green lands drift slowly by as the spacecraft speeds along. The thin halo of the atmosphere glows at the edge of the Earth, a fragile, light blue crescent. In that moment, they see Earth as a whole, in one glance, something no human in all history had witnessed directly until then. It's said that many astronauts feel a deep emotional impact seeing Earth from orbit, a sense of how interconnected and precious everything is down there. Orbit is a threshold, because from orbit, one can look outward and see the moon as a reachable destination, and beyond the moon, the planets and stars beckoning further. But orbit itself is also a destination, a place where humans have now built space stations to live for months at a time, conducting experiments, gazing at the home planet below, and watching the cosmos. Think of orbit as our cosmic backyard porch. We haven't ventured far into the neighborhood of the solar system yet. We're still mostly sitting on that porch, getting used to being off the ground. And from that porch, we can see the yard, the moon shining nearby, and planets like Venus or Mars as bright points of light. And we plan our next journeys. The experience of orbiting Earth is profoundly beautiful. Astronauts often speak of the sunrises and sunsets from orbit. Since a single orbit around Earth takes only about 90 minutes, the sun goes up and down many times in a day. Imagine witnessing a sunrise from space. Over the curved horizon of Earth, first a faint glow of blue and gold, then the thinnest crescent of the sun appears, rapidly swelling into a dazzling arc. In moments, the full blazing sun emerges, and its light spills across the atmosphere and the surface below, turning darkness into day in the blink of an eye. Then, just as you've had time to absorb that, an hour later, you find yourself watching the sun slide back down, setting in reverse, slipping behind the Earth, leaving a brief flash of orange and pink before darkness falls again. Stars pop out, and the Milky Way glimmers, while city lights sparkle on the night side of the globe. Each transition is swift, silent, and awe-inspiring. Despite the immense speed, circling Earth in roughly an hour and a half, from inside an orbiting ship, things feel calm and unhurried. There's no rushing wind, no engine roar in the vacuum of space, just a quiet hum of machinery and the gentle reminders of home, perhaps a mission control voice or the music an astronaut plays to themselves. It's like being in a bubble of free fall. You feel almost still, and so does everything around you. You float from place to place, needing only a light touch to glide along. The only hints of how fast you're moving are the movement of clouds and terrain far below, and the cycle of day and night happening outside your window. From this vantage point, national borders vanish. You see Earth as one world, one home. The realization washes over you that everyone and everything you love is on that shining planet below. It's a perspective that has given many spacefarers a profound sense of unity and hope, a desire for people to care for each other and our fragile world, seeing how thin the line is that separates and protects us from the void. Orbit is called a doorway to elsewhere, because once you are in orbit, you've already done most of the work needed to travel farther. The energy it takes to get to orbit is the lion's share of what's required to reach the moon or beyond. Sitting in orbit, you are already above most of Earth's gravity well. A bit more push, and you can break free entirely to journey to other worlds. It's like climbing a tall mountain. Once at the summit, in orbit, a whole vista of possibilities lies beyond, awaiting exploration. And so here we are, collectively, on this soft threshold. We've learned how to get to orbit, how to live there temporarily, and from here, we dream of what's next. Setting foot on other planets, perhaps one day reaching out to the stars. The doorway is open, and the next steps beckon. In the stillness of our narrative night, feel the excitement of that threshold. We stand at the open door of our home, with the night of space stretching out before us, full of mystery and wonder. The courage to step through comes from curiosity and hope, but also from trust in what we've learned so far. Trust in the maps and tools and experiences we've gained. Now, to truly cross this threshold and set sail beyond Earth, we focus on the very moment of departure. The scene shifts to a launch pad in the quiet hours before dawn. A tall rocket stands ready, and all is nearly still. Humanity's dreams are packed within it. The final countdown is about to begin, not as a clamour, but as a whisper, carrying all our wishes and resolve as we prepare to slip the bonds of Earth at last. The rocket stands ready in the pre-dawn hush, a tall silhouette against the starry sky. All the preparations have been made. The spacecraft it carries is filled with hopes and careful planning. In the surrounding darkness, there is an expectant stillness. Crickets might be chirping in the grass, and a gentle wind brushes across the field. Far off, waves from the ocean lap the shore quietly. The massive vehicle is bathed in soft floodlights, yet the scene somehow remains tranquil. It's as if the night itself is holding its breath along with all of us. High up on the rocket, in a small capsule, the crew is strapped in. They have trained for this moment extensively, but now that it's here, they share a calm determination. They speak to each other in low, steady voices, going through final checklists. Oxygen, check. Communications, check. Their hearts may be beating faster than normal, but their demeanors are almost meditative. Each astronaut has their own silent ritual, perhaps a brief thought of loved ones, a whispered prayer, or a hopeful mantra, a deep breath to focus. In mission control, rows of engineers and flight directors watch their consoles intently. A soft voice on the communication loop calls out status updates. T-minus 2 minutes and counting, all systems nominal. There's no chatter, no unnecessary noise, just a controlled quiet. Above the launch site, the last stars of night still shimmer, though the eastern horizon has a faint hint of deep blue, signaling dawn's approach. It's a beautiful time to depart the Earth, when night and day meet. The rocket's guidance system aligns. The fuel pumps maintain their pressure. Everything edges closer to launch readiness. You can almost feel the collective heartbeat of everyone involved, though no one speaks of it. T-minus 60 seconds, the launch director announces quietly. The final minute. Time seems to stretch and hold its breath. The astronauts close their helmet visors. The commander gives a last thumbs up to the crew. They return the gesture with reassuring nods that only they can sense in their bulky suits. Inside the capsule, there's a quiet hiss of oxygen and the faint hum of ventilation fans. Each person focuses on their breathing, slow and steady. Outside, a slight vibration in the ground might be felt as the rocket's engines are prepared for ignition. Birds that were roosting nearby take flight, sensing what's to come. Yet everything still feels oddly serene. At T-minus 10 seconds, the steady voice begins the count. In our minds, we hear it not as a blaring command, but as a gentle cadence, a last lullaby before a grand awakening. Each number a soft drum beat marking the moment of ascent. 10, 9, 8. The rocket's main engines ignite with a growing glow at its base. Flames blooming in bright orange, lighting the pad. A deep rumble rolls across the ground, but from afar, it's like distant thunder, low and powerful without being harsh. 7, 6, 5. The clamps holding the rocket down release. The engines throttle up, pouring out fire and cloud. The rocket remains for a moment, poised like an arrow drawn fully back in a bow, full of potential energy. 4, 3. Inside the capsule, a gentle vibration surrounds the crew. They feel a light but growing pressure now, as physics begins to overtake stillness. They grip their armrests lightly, eyes steady, hearts resolute. 2, 1, 0. In that instant, the rocket slowly, gracefully begins to rise. For a split second, it seems to hover just above the pad. Then it ascends on a pillar of flame. There's a blinding brilliance beneath and a billowing cloud of smoke, but we perceive it almost in slow motion. The roar grows louder, a rolling wave of sound washing over the landscape, yet we remain in awestruck silence in our mind, watching as this brilliant torch lifts our travellers toward the sky. The ground falls away beneath them. The stars above remain fixed in their view, growing closer by the second. In those first moments of ascent, just after the whispered countdown has ended, everything changes, and yet for a heartbeat, everything feels peaceful and fated. A new chapter is beginning, and we ride it out in quiet wonder, allowing the sensation of departure to wash over us. We are leaving Earth, crossing the threshold into the sky, and heading toward the endless stars. In the quiet hours past midnight, we leave behind the last lights of Earth. Our journey lifts slowly from the familiar ground, rising gently into the dim sky. As engines murmur far below, the world falls away beneath us. We ascend through layers of night and cloud, weight pressing softly, then easing as we climb. The blue glow of the atmosphere thins to darkness above, and stars emerge one by one in the high silence. We are leaving the shore of our cosmic ocean, drifting upward into a vast and tranquil sea of stars. For a moment, we linger on the edge of space, where day becomes night. Through our window, we see a gentle curve of Earth's horizon, glowing faintly blue against the black. The thin band of atmosphere hugs the planet like a delicate halo, shimmering with twilight colors. It is breathtaking and fragile, a slender veil between us and the endless night. Then, with a final push, we cross into orbit. Gravity's pull eases, and we float free, unmoored in a peaceful, star-filled ocean. High above the sleeping world, our spacecraft glides weightlessly. The roar of launch is gone, replaced by a hush broken only by our calm breath. We unstrap and gently rise from our seats, drifting in slow motion. A pen floats lazily past, caught in a sunbeam that streams through the window. We share quiet smiles. Here, at last, we are in space. Our bodies feel light and unburdened, as if a great weight has been lifted. In this gentle stillness, Earth has let us go. We press close to a window to look back at our home. Far below, the Earth spans out in majesty, a glowing blue marble set against black velvet. Swirls of white cloud curl over oceans and faint outlines of continents that lie in darkness. Along the rim of Earth's disk, sunlight hints at dawn in a thin golden arc, but most of the world below still sleeps under night's cover. We float quietly, watching the planet turn slowly beneath us. As we circle the globe, night gives way to day and back again in an endless rhythm. Every so often, a brilliant sunrise bursts over the horizon, flooding our cabin with warm light. Minutes later, the sun slips away behind Earth, and stars return in the window. Day and night chase each other quickly here. We orbit Earth every 90 minutes, experiencing a sunrise or sunset 16 times each earthly day. Time flows differently in this silent realm. We drift silently, carrying the stillness within us. Outside, the cosmos stretches infinitely, sprinkled with starlight. Inside, our hearts are calm as we adjust to this new world of microgravity and perpetual twilight. We breathe slowly, aware of how thin the line was that separated us from space, just that fragile blue glow now below. In this moment, we understand how precious and delicate our world is, seen from above. Earth's atmosphere lies below like a pale blue aura, and beyond it, the great darkness welcomes us onward. Our spacecraft gently turns, and through another window, we catch sight of the night side of the world far beneath. Tiny clusters of light twinkle on the dark surface, cities shining like constellations across the land. They are warm, golden sparks, revealing where humanity gathers in the darkness. These glowing urban galaxies drift slowly by, connected by faint luminous threads where highways link town to town. From up here, they seem as fragile as candlelight, floating in an endless void. Clouds cover some parts of the world below, their tops lit softly by the moon. We watch as distant thunderstorms flash, silent flickers of white light hidden within the clouds. From orbit, even fierce storms look gentle, a slow dance of illumination beneath a veil of cloud. There is no thunder for us to hear, only the serene pulsing of far-off lightning. Everything on earth moves in silence from our lofty perch. Far below, the patterns of light hint at the geography of entire continents. On one orbit, a sinuous chain of brightness outlines a great coastline, perhaps a bay dotted with cities where the land meets the sea. Another time, we cross a vast stretch of black ocean until a spray of lights appears, maybe an island nation glowing in isolation. We see the long ribbon of a river of light, likely the Nile, cutting through a dark expanse of land with a bright cluster at its delta where it meets the sea. Here and there, lone pinpoints in remote areas speak of small towns or ships traversing the night. Humanity's presence reveals itself as delicate networks of luminescence tracing the continents, sparkling along shores, clustering around rivers, and scattering like fallen stars across plains. We glide onward above the planet's sleeping face. Beyond the last city lights and the gauzy clouds, darkness spreads out uninterrupted over the open ocean and the uninhabited land. Only faint hints, like the dull gleam of moonlit water or a far-off glow of clouds, betray what lies beneath the night. The broad shapes of continents are barely outlined in that dimness. It feels as if the earth has been tucked under a soft, dark blanket, safely at rest until morning. Sometimes, as we swing around to Earth's day side, sunlight floods our view once more. Far below, the oceans gleam a deep blue, and brilliant white clouds swirl over them in vast, ever-changing patterns. We spot the shining reflection of the sun glinting off a calm stretch of sea, like a mirror signalling up to us. Over land, we see green and brown patches of forests and deserts, and even the faint outline of mountain ranges casting long shadows. From up here, the complex texture of Earth's weather and terrain looks like a beautiful, moving painting. It's a vibrant, lively counterpart to the tranquil darkness of the night side. We watch the planet's sunlit face in silent wonder, as mesmerized by the bright day as we were by the gentle night. We point out features to each other excitedly in hushed voices. A long chain of city lights outlining a mighty river here. A massive storm illuminating clouds from within there. Each new sight draws a soft gasp or an exclamation of wonder. It's as if we are in a cosmic cathedral, and these spectacles below are the stained glass come to life. We feel compelled to speak quietly, reverently, in the face of such overwhelming beauty, sharing the experience with gentle smiles and wide eyes. From our window view, we gaze at the spectacle of a world turning in silence. The Earth rotates steadily, carrying new regions into daylight while others slip into night. We can almost sense the quiet slumber of millions of people down there, unaware of our gentle vigil in the sky. It's a profoundly peaceful sight, a planet at rest in the tender dark, turning in silence below us. We feel a deep connection to that distant world, an intimate empathy for all who dream beneath those patterns of light and shadow. In the stillness of our orbit, we watch over Earth as it sleeps, filled with gratitude and wonder. Above the polar regions, a new kind of light draws our eyes. Near Earth's curved horizon, faint ribbons of green begin to glow, swirling and shifting in the upper atmosphere. We move to a window facing the night pole and watch as the aurora spreads in ghostly patterns. It starts as a dim emerald wisp and then unfurls into broad curtains of light that ripple slowly, like gauzy drapes being swayed by an invisible tide. This is the aurora, the silent dance of Earth's magnetic field, with particles from the sun. We watch in awe as these rivers of green fire flow along the darkness. The lights twist and fold, following the lines of Earth's magnetic embrace, painting the sky with their soft glow. Bright waves surge and fade in a slow rhythm, sometimes tinged with a hint of red or violet along their highest edges. The aurora's luminescence illuminates the clouds below in a gentle green hue and reflects off the polar ice. It is as though the night itself has come alive, breathing and shifting in luminous colour. At the same time, far on the opposite side of the planet, a similar auroral glow dances around Earth's south pole. Though we cannot see it directly from our path, we know that the southern sky is also alive with shimmering light. The Earth wears twin crowns of this quiet fire, north and south, mirroring each other with ethereal green halos. In our minds, we picture the entire planet draped in these curtains of light at both ends, a silent festival of the upper atmosphere encircling the globe. No sound reaches us from this celestial display. It is a performance in utter silence. Yet in our hearts we almost hear a faint cosmic melody as the auroras sway. We take in the sight with quiet wonder, the magnetosphere's graceful ballet made visible. The green ribbons stretch from horizon to horizon beneath us, then slowly dim as our orbit carries us onward into other darkness. The memory of their beauty lingers in our eyes long after the glow has faded. At times, our orbit carries us directly above the brightest part of an aurora. We turn off the cabin lights to let our eyes adjust to the dim glow. Looking down, we can see an entire auroral oval spread below us, a luminous ring circling the polar cap. It feels as if we are sailing over a glowing green sea of light. The curves and ripples of the aurora stretch out beneath our ship for thousands of kilometers, an immense, silent storm of color. We feel a quiet thrill, knowing that far below, people might be looking up at these same lights in amazement, unaware that we are simultaneously watching them from above, riding the aurora's gentle currents in the sky. On one particularly active night, the auroras grow so bright that they paint the clouds below with their color. We even notice touches of violet and deep red flickering at the highest edges of the curtains, hints of a more intense solar wind energizing Earth's atmosphere. The lights sway faster, shimmering in complex patterns that leave us in absolute awe. For nearly an entire orbit, we watch this heightened display, scarcely speaking a word. In the face of such beauty, we simply float and absorb it, feeling deeply connected to our planet and star. As the final ribbons of light vanish, the polar sky returns to its quiet darkness, as if the spectacle had been just a dream. We remain, however, forever marked by the memory of that cosmic dance. Inside this cozy haven adrift above Earth, we have found a small home among the stars. Our spacecraft is now docked to a larger orbiting outpost, a space station that has welcomed many travelers before us. We float through a connecting hatch into a module where soft lights glow and gentle fans hum, circulating the air. This is our sanctuary in microgravity, a house between sunrises where day and night are only markers on a clock. We take a moment to appreciate the comfortable clutter of life. A photograph of Earth taped to one wall, a few green plants growing in pouches by the window, their leaves drifting slightly as we pass. This place is warm with the presence of humans who live and dream while circling the world. Life aboard this tiny station is careful and calm. There is no real up or down here. We orient ourselves by color-coded walls and the positions of equipment. We move slowly, gliding through the corridors with a push of a fingertip. Every surface has handholds and Velcro patches to secure objects, preventing them from floating off into the air. The station is snug and alive, with the low whir of machinery and an occasional gentle beep from a monitor. In this enclosed world, we are a family of explorers, tending to our chores and experiments as Earth whirls below. We drift down a narrow passageway and find our way to the cupola, a domed window offering a panoramic view of the Earth and stars. Pressing our faces to its clear panes, we gaze out at the breathtaking expanse. The curve of the Earth dominates one side, brilliant blue and white by day, then an inky black sprinkled with city lights by night. Turning our view outward, we see the endless stars of space surrounding us. Here, many astronauts have paused to contemplate their home planet and the universe beyond, and now we do the same, floating in quiet reflection. The station races around Earth at over 27,000 kilometers per hour, yet inside it feels perfectly still. Every 45 minutes or so, the sun peeks over Earth's curve, blindingly bright. Then about 45 minutes later, it dips behind the horizon and outside plunges to darkness again. The crew follows a schedule to create an artificial day and night, drawing window shades and turning off lights to sleep on a 24-hour cycle. Still, it's strange to know that outside the window, 16 sunrises and sunsets flash by each Earth day. Here, time is marked by the gentle routines we keep, rather than the cycle of the sun. Each day, we devote some time to caring for our bodies in weightlessness. One crewmate floats over to a stationary bicycle bolted to the floor and slips her feet into its pedals, gently spinning in place. Another secures himself to a treadmill with elastic straps and begins a slow run, his footfalls thumping softly in the otherwise quiet module. We stretch our arms and legs, feeling the slight resistance of our movements in this gravity-free world. These exercises are like a delicate dance, our bodies moving in slow, controlled motions. We chat and listen to faint music as we work out, keeping our muscles and bones strong. Even exercise here has a peaceful rhythm, a far cry from the hurried workouts on Earth. There is work to be done on the station, but it happens at a calm, methodical pace. During the day, we tend to experiments that float in racks along the walls, studying how crystals grow without gravity, or how plants sprout in orbit. We perform maintenance, tightening a screw here, checking a filter there, all while gently holding ourselves in place. Every action is careful and unhurried, like tending a home in slow motion. Laughter and light conversation flow easily among the crew as we go about our tasks, a reminder that though we are far from Earth, we carry humanity's warmth with us. Meal times are a favourite ritual in our floating home. We gather around a small table, using straps and Velcro to keep our food packets and utensils from drifting away. One crew member squeezes a pouch of warm soup and cuts it open, letting the aroma fill the air. We eat slowly, enjoying the simple pleasure of a shared meal. With no gravity, a morsel of food might escape, floating until someone gently catches it with a chuckle. We exchange stories of home and marvel together at the fact that we are dining while gliding above the world. Our voices are soft and content. Even our laughter seems hushed by the vastness around us. When work is done and dinner is over, there are moments of pure tranquility. One by one, we find ourselves drawn again to the cupola or a window port, gazing down at the Earth turning below. City lights twinkle on the dark side, and on the day side we can see white cloud swirls and the glow of sun on the ocean. We often take photos, or simply watch in reverent silence. In these quiet times, all differences fade away. We are simply human beings, orbiting our home world and appreciating its fragile beauty. There is a gentle camaraderie in knowing we share this extraordinary perspective. We feel both very small and very united with all life on that blue sphere beneath us. Night comes to our schedule, and we prepare for sleep. We retreat to our sleeping quarters, little phone booth-sized cabins where sleeping bags are secured to the wall. Each of us slips into a bag and zips up, preventing our bodies from drifting freely in the night. With lights dimmed, the station grows quiet, except for the background murmur of fans. We let our bodies relax in the weightlessness, arms floating up in the air as we drift towards slumber. It is like drifting in a warm, dark sea. Breathing slowly, we close our eyes. In the distance, a soft glow from a window might be the Earth's light or a hint of dawn. But here inside, it is peaceful and still. Rocked by the almost imperceptible vibrations of the station, we succumb to a gentle, dreamlike sleep miles above the Earth. After a time of rest, we awaken for a new day in orbit. We check our clocks, morning by our schedule, and open the shutters to find the sun peering in once more. Floating out of our sleeping bags, we begin our quiet morning routines. A warm drink is prepared in a pouch. As it opens, the fragrance of coffee or tea drifts through the air. We sip carefully, savouring the comfort. A stray droplet floats out, and we watch it glisten until we catch it with a finger. We share few words in the early hour, each of us peacefully gathering our thoughts for the day. Simple habits like washing up require a bit of improvisation here. With no running water, we use damp cloths and feel refreshed. It's a calm and unhurried start, our little community beginning another loop around the world together. As we check our instruments and plan the day, our eyes are drawn to something different outside the window. There, beyond the bright curve of Earth, floats the moon, a distant pale lantern in the black sky. It hangs at the edge of night, silently beckoning to us. We pause to marvel at it. That old companion of Earth, which we have watched so often from the ground, now calls to us from space with a new clarity. A quiet excitement stirs among us. We realize that after many sunrises and sunsets here, the time has come to venture farther. The moon's soft glow awakens the urge to journey onward. We know our mission will soon carry us away from this orbital home, outward toward that beckoning light. With a mixture of excitement and farewell, we prepare to leave the station that has been our home in orbit. Hatches are sealed, and we retreat into our spacecraft, each of us taking one last look through the window at the familiar modules of the station. With a gentle push of thrusters, we undock. The station's lights and solar panels drift slowly away from us, growing smaller against the curve of the Earth. Soon, it is just a tiny cluster of sparkles. Then it vanishes into the darkness. We offer silent thanks for the shelter and friendship it provided. Now we are on our own again, a lone ship in the great night, setting our course for the moon. Our engines ignite in a smooth, prolonged burn, nudging us out of Earth's orbit onto a path toward the moon. There is no jolt or drama, just a quiet vibration and a sense of movement as our craft accelerates. Through the window, we see the blue curve of Earth sliding off to one side as we depart its immediate grasp. We are leaving the cradle of Earth's gravity, slowly escaping into the space between worlds. The feeling is subtle, but profound. One world's pull is releasing us, and another's has yet to take hold. We are en route, gently coasting along a calculated trajectory that will lead us to our lunar destination. In the first hours of the journey, we gaze back at our planet growing ever smaller. The Earth behind us becomes a brilliant blue-white orb suspended in blackness, then gradually shrinks to a star-like point of light. All of human history, every ocean and forest, is contained in that tiny glow now. We watch it with bittersweet tenderness, knowing that everyone we love and everything we know is on that little shining sphere, receding in the distance. Around it, the night is vast and sprinkled with innumerable stars. As Earth fades to a pale blue dot, the stars around us seem to brighten, welcoming us into their domain. We feel a gentle solitude out here, but not loneliness, for the light of Earth still accompanies us as a steady reminder of home. The voyage to the moon lasts several days, and we settle into a quiet routine as we traverse the emptiness. We spend our time simply and reflectively. We take turns at the window, marveling at how the sunlight glints off our spacecraft and how the stars remain fixed without atmosphere to twinkle. We jot down thoughts in journals, describing the velvet dark and our emotions as we venture farther from Earth than most ever have. Sometimes we speak softly to one another about what might await us, sharing our hopes and a touch of nervous excitement. We eat unhurried meals, float in gentle silence, and steal glances at the moon, growing slowly larger ahead. There is no rush here in the void between worlds, only the steady progress of our vessel and the calm passage of time. In this peaceful transit, we come to appreciate the enormity of space and the privilege of being tiny, living witnesses to it all. Each hour that passes brings the moon nearer. What was once a mere silver disk in the sky now looms ahead as a great grey globe. Its face, illuminated by the distant sun, grows in detail. We begin to discern lighter and darker patches, the vast circular plains of ancient lava and the bright highlands pocked with craters. The moon glows with a quiet, ancient light, like an old lantern at the edge of night, guiding us forward. Its gravitational pull gently starts to tug at our ship, letting us know we are entering its domain. We are filled with anticipation as the charcoal-coloured sphere ahead of us becomes ever larger and more real. As we draw very close to the moon, we slip into its shadow, leaving the sun's direct light for a short while. Our window view turns black as the moon's bulk eclipses the sun from our perspective. We are passing over to the moon's far side, hidden from Earth and from sunlight. In this brief eclipse, the only illumination comes from a faint blue-grey sheen on the lunar surface below. Earthshine, the light of our home planet, softly painting the moon's night. It is a gentle, ghostly glow, allowing us to glimpse the outlines of craters even on the moon's dark half. We float through this shadow in silent awe, feeling the moon's gravity claiming us fully as our ship is drawn along its far side. When we emerge from behind the moon, a spectacle greets us that takes our breath away. Over the stark horizon of the lunar surface, the distant Earth rises, half illuminated in brilliant blues and whites. We witness an Earthrise, our own planet appearing above the moon's edge, luminous with oceans and clouds against the black sky. We pause in wonder, our words forgotten at the sight. From here, Earth looks small and exquisitely beautiful, a shining jewel in the cosmic dark. Seeing our world rise over the barren lunar landscape moves us deeply. In this moment, floating above the moon, we feel a wave of humble gratitude. We understand, perhaps more than ever, how precious our home is, hanging in the void. Now the moon dominates our view below. We fire our thrusters gently to ease into orbit around it, letting the moon's gravity capture our spacecraft. Our trajectory curves smoothly, transitioning from a straight path into a circular glide around the moon's ancient sphere. Soon we are traveling parallel to the lunar surface, skimming above cratered highlands and dusky plains. Beneath us lies a silent world, bright crater rims and mountain peaks catching the sunlight, and deep hollows cloaked in shadow. We peer down through the window at this desolate beauty, a landscape untouched by wind or life, utterly still under the brilliant sun. For a time, we simply orbit, observing the panorama below and readying ourselves for the descent to come. The silence of the moon is palpable, even up here. There are no voices from Earth at the moment, only the soft hum of our ship's systems accompanying the stark view. We sweep over the sunlit hemisphere, where the ground gleams in sharp clarity, then over regions where dusk is falling and the surface lies in gentle darkness. Our instruments confirm that all is well. The lander systems are primed and waiting for us to make our attempt at landing. Our hearts quicken, but we remain calm and focused. We have reached the moon's doorstep, and it is time to go down to the surface. With quiet excitement, we begin the sequence for descent. In a few moments, we will drop toward the moon's ancient soil and join the handful of humans who have ever stood on this lonely world. The thought fills us with awe and serenity in equal measure as we poise on the brink of another world's embrace. Our lander begins its gentle descent toward a broad, level plain on the moon's surface. Through the lander's lower windows, we watch the ground rise up slowly to meet us. Firing small thrusters, we settle ourselves into the final approach. There is only a muted rumble and a scattering of dust as we touch down. The contact is soft. Our spacecraft's legs compress slightly, and then all motion ceases. For a moment, we simply sit in disbelief at the stillness. We have arrived on the moon. Once the thin veil of dust kicked up by our landing settles, we peer outside at an alien landscape. Stretched before us is a vast expanse of greyish regolith, like fine ash, dappled with rocks and small craters. The sky above is pure black, even though the sun is shining. Without an atmosphere, there is no blue day sky here, only the endless night of space. Near the horizon, a low ridge stands silently against the starry void. Long shadows from that distant rise slant across the open plain. Everything is starkly illuminated or in shadow, with no midtones or haze. It is a scene of utter stillness and ancient solitude. In the distance, the horizon is much closer than it appears on Earth, curving gently only a few kilometers away due to the moon's smaller size. Every rock and rise out there stands out sharp and clear, with no air to soften the view. The clarity is astonishing. Far-off boulders look crisp against the darkness beyond, as if they were much nearer than they truly are. We feel as though we could almost reach out and touch those distant hills. So vividly do they appear in this airless silence. We take a deep breath and prepare to step outside. Climbing down the ladder of the lander, our boots make contact with lunar soil. The ground is powdery and yields slightly underfoot. We hop down the last rung with an easy, slow motion, feeling the gentle tug of lunar gravity, only 1/6 of what we knew on Earth. Our first footsteps imprint clearly into the soft grey dust. We each pause, heart pounding gently, as we place our feet on this world. The surface feels firm beneath the powdery top layer, In these first moments, we become aware of how light and agile we feel. Moving requires little effort. Even a small push can propel us into a slow-motion leap. We laugh quietly at the sensation, a joyful, childlike sound that seems almost out of place in this great hush. Looking back at our boot prints, we realize that these marks may last for millions of years. There is no wind here, no rain to wash them away. The only thing that could disturb them is another visitor, or a meteor, falling from the sky. Our footprints join those left by explorers decades ago, preserved in the vacuum. This knowledge makes us step more reverently, conscious that we are writing on a pristine page of history that rarely turns. All around us is an almost supernatural quiet. We stop speaking and simply listen. There is no rustle of breeze, no distant trickle of water, nothing but the faint whir of our suit systems and the soft thump of our own hearts. The moon's silence is profound, unlike any silence on Earth. We hear our breaths sounding in our helmets, and when we tap a gloved hand against our arm, even that noise is dull and contained. Beyond our small bubble of life, the lunar landscape offers only mute stillness. It feels as though sound itself has been left behind on Earth. We walk slowly across the area near our lander, each step a gentle bounce in the low gravity. In the near distance, we see the edge of Mare Tranquillitatis, the Sea of Tranquility, the very region where humans first walked on the moon so many years ago. Somewhere not far from here stands a silent testament to that achievement. The base of an old lunar module, a flag left planted in the soil, and scientific instruments long ago quieted. We know the flag hangs motionless in the vacuum, its colours bleached by unfiltered sunlight but still standing after all this time. We are humbled to be treading near that history, adding our own presence to this quiet record. In our mind's eye, we imagine the footprints of those first moonwalkers, still crisp in the dust, not far from where we stand. We feel a profound kinship with those early adventurers across the gulf of time. The decades that separate us fall away in this moment. On these silent plains, it is as if we can sense their joyful ghosts, bounding beside us in memory. We carry their legacy gently as we continue our explorations on this timeless ground. Daylight on the moon is unlike daylight anywhere else. The sun blazes in a black sky, a brilliant orb that gives light but little colour. Under its glare, the grey soil around us almost glows white, and every rock casts a pitch-black shadow. The contrasts are intense and stark. In the bright areas, we notice the ground glinting here and there, as if sprinkled with tiny stars, bits of glassy sand and metallic dust catching the solar rays. In shadow, everything is swallowed by darkness, edged sharply against the light. With no atmosphere to soften the sunshine, shade is truly dark, and sunlit surfaces almost painfully bright. We move carefully between light and dark patches, aware of the extreme temperature differences our suits must buffer. Each step reminds us how alien this environment is, deadly cold in shade and searing in sun, and yet quietly beautiful in its simplicity. Here on the moon, a single day lasts for weeks, and the sun creeps slowly across the sky. At this moment, it hangs low on the horizon, casting our elongated shadows over the powdery plain. It will be many days before it finally sets. For now, it illuminates our exploration with a golden clarity. We stand together on this silent ground, two small figures in an ancient, unchanging landscape, and feel the magnitude of what it means to be here. In the stillness, with the brilliant sun above and our blue home planet Visible as a distant beacon in the black sky, we feel a profound sense of peace. Our hearts are full and quiet. On this lonely world, we do not feel lonely at all. Instead, we feel intimately connected to all of humanity and to the universe around us, as if the cosmos itself is embracing us in this moment on the moon. We stand on the moon and gaze back at the distant Earth hanging in the pitch-black sky. In this still moment, we are struck by how deeply the moon and Earth are connected. That shining orb in the sky, our home, is not only beautiful from here, it is also beholden to this quiet moon's pull. The moon's gravity gently tugs at Earth's oceans, drawing them toward it and then releasing them, creating the rhythmic rise and fall of tides. Twice each day, every shoreline on Earth feels that subtle pull. For billions of years, this lunar rhythm has stirred the seas, a cosmic heartbeat that has guided life's dance in the waters and along the coasts. We think of how different Earth would be without the moon. The tides would be tiny, and the nights much darker, devoid of that gentle glow that has comforted our ancestors. The moon's steady presence has also helped keep Earth's tilt stable over eons, preventing wild swings in the planet's orientation. Because of that, our climate and seasons have remained relatively steady, allowing life to thrive and evolve in a consistent rhythm. Even the length of our day has been influenced by the moon. Its pull gradually slowed Earth's rotation over immense spans of time, stretching our days from the brief 6-hour spins of early Earth to the 24 hours we know now. In ancient coral fossils, scientists can read evidence of those shorter days and more numerous days in a year, written in the growth patterns that the moon's tug helped shape. The moon's influence is quietly inscribed in the history of our planet and its living creatures. It is amazing to realize how the moon has left its signature on our days and nights. On Earth, countless forms of life have calibrated their existence to the moon's cycles. We picture the push and pull of the tides nurturing life in coastal shallows, encouraging the first brave sea creatures to venture onto land in primordial times. Even today, many animals still follow the moon's clock. In the warm seas, entire coral reefs coordinate their spawning to the full moon, releasing eggs and sperm in one synchronized event, guided by lunar light. On tropical beaches, tiny sea turtles hatch from their eggs and scamper toward the ocean, often timing their emergence with the high tide under a moonlit sky to help hide them from predators. It's a soft influence, almost imperceptible, yet it has persisted, weaving the moon's presence into the habits of Earth's creatures. Humans, too, have always been drawn to the moon's mysterious power. For millennia, people observed the moon's phases and wove them into myths and legends. Many cultures imagined figures or animals on the moon's face and told stories of its changing shape each month. Some believed the full moon could stir madness or influence human behavior. The very word lunacy comes from luna, the Latin word for moon. Ancient people also linked the moon to fertility and growth. They saw the roughly 29-day lunar cycle as mirroring the cycle of women's bodies, and moon deities in many mythologies were represented as goddesses of fertility and childbirth. While science finds little proof that the moon can drive us mad or directly affect our bodies, the folklore remains. Hospitals and old police logs often have tales of unusual happenings on nights of the full moon. We may smile at these stories now, yet we understand why the ancients felt the moon's eerie pull on their imaginations. Through the ages, the moon has been our calendar and our muse. The very concept of a month is rooted in the moon's cycle, each month originally tracking from one new moon to the next. Farmers once planned their planting and harvesting by the moon, timing their work to the waxing and waning light. Sailors navigated by its glow on the open sea. Countless poets and lovers have turned their faces upward to the moon, finding comfort and inspiration in its silvery light. Under its gentle glow, humans marked festivals, set rituals, and even made wishes. The moon has been a loyal companion to us, a nightly lantern guiding travelers, and a silent witness to our history. Standing here on the moon's surface, we feel the echo of all those gazes from across time. The connection between us and our moon is not just one of gravity and physics. It is also a bond of stories, memories, and the shared wonder of looking up at the sky. On this quiet lunar plain, we sense how the moon has shaped the Earth, and also the hearts and minds of those who have lived under its light. We wander away from our landing site to explore a bit of the surrounding landscape. Not far from our lander, we come upon a small crater, perhaps only a few meters across. Its bowl-shaped depression is lined with fine dust, and its rim rises gently above the surrounding ground. We step down into it, our boots sliding slightly on the slope. Standing at the bottom, we are encircled by the crater's low walls. It is a quiet, intimate place, a little hollow in the lunar soil, likely formed by a small meteorite ages ago. We look up and see the rim outlined against the starry sky. The crater's edge casts a curved shadow, offering a sense of its shape. Climbing back out, we leave our footprints in the powder, new marks inside this ancient cup. Curious to see more, we make our way up a gentle rise nearby. From this higher ground, the broader lunar landscape comes into view around us. What we see takes our breath away. The ground to the horizon is pockmarked with craters of every size. Some are shallow depressions, their features softened by time. Others are sharp and fresh-looking, with rock debris scattered around their rims. They overlap and interrupt one another, evidence of countless impacts through eons. It is a vast record etched into the moon's surface, a history of cosmic events spanning billions of years. We turn slowly, taking in craters upon craters in every direction under the high sun. Toward the south, we notice one especially prominent crater with brilliant rays streaking outward from it. Even from here, we can trace the light-colored beams extending for hundreds of kilometers across the darker ground. This crater's radiant pattern indicates it was formed by a relatively recent and powerful impact. The force of that collision sprayed out lighter subsurface material, painting the moon with a starburst of debris. We recognize this feature as one of the moon's great scars, visible even from Earth as a faint spoke-like pattern on a bright full moon night, a dramatic reminder that the moon has its own explosive past. We pause and imagine the events that created the scene before us. Long ago, some wandering meteoroid or comet, perhaps left over from the solar system's formation, found its path intersecting with the moon. There would have been a silent flash on the airless surface as it struck, carving out a circular wound and hurling lunar rocks in all directions. Over unimaginable time, dozens, hundreds more of these impacts occurred. Some new craters obliterated older ones, creating jumbled outlines and twin-ringed basins. Yet unlike on Earth, here there was no wind or rain to wear them away afterward. Each crater remains as a lasting memorial of that brief, violent moment when a piece of the universe met the moon. We recall our orbit earlier, when we passed over the moon's far side. On that hidden face, we saw nothing but a dense tapestry of craters, far more than here on the side that faces Earth. The far side has almost no broad maria like the plains around us. It is as if that distant hemisphere kept nearly all its scars, unsoftened by large lava flows. Standing here now, we appreciate why early astronomers, seeing the smoother face of the moon from Earth, imagined seas in the dark patches. Only later did we learn that those maria were formed by ancient lava flooding giant impact basins, smoothing over older craters. In contrast, the far side never received such renewal. It bears a nearly complete record of impacts since the moon's infancy. We find it awe-inspiring that so much history lies preserved in those silent marks. It strikes us that the moon is like an open history book of the solar system, especially on its far side. Every crater is a chapter, every basin a story of fire and collision. As we walk along the crest of the rise, our eye catches something glinting in the dust. We bend down and pick up a tiny, glassy bead of molten rock, a tektite, formed in the intense heat of an impact long ago. It is perfectly round and smooth, no bigger than a pea. We roll it between our gloved fingers, marveling that we are likely the first to ever touch this little relic. This bead might have been created millions of years in the past, when an asteroid's energy melted lunar sand into droplets that cooled into glass. In our hand, we hold a droplet of frozen time, a small treasure born of violence, yet now utterly tranquil. After a moment, we place it gently back on the ground, leaving it as we found it in this natural museum of the moon. Standing on this ancient ground, we feel the profound quiet of deep time all around us. On Earth, landscapes are reshaped by wind, water, and life. But here, change comes slowly. Without atmosphere or flowing water, a crater can remain nearly unchanged for countless centuries. The moon's surface is a time capsule, preserving scenes almost as they were eons ago. We imagine that if we returned here tens of thousands of years in the future, these same craters, and even our own footprints, would likely still be here, barely softened by the tiny micrometeorites that slowly dust the surface. In the quiet of this cratered realm, we feel the weight of time and memory. It is humbling to realize how differently time flows in this place. We look out once more over the cratered plain under the black sky, filled with respect for the endurance of these silent rings of remembering, nature's own archives of creation and destruction, quietly telling the story of our cosmic neighborhood's long, long history. In the quiet of this cratered realm, we feel the weight of time and memory. All too soon, it is time for us to depart the moon. We climb back into our lander and secure the hatch, carrying lunar dust on our boots and suits as a tangible memory of our visit. With helmets on and systems checked, we ignite the ascent engine. In a muted rumble, our small craft rises from the grey plain, slowly at first, and then more swiftly. Through the window, we see the dusty ground fall away. The spot where our footprints and experiments lie grows smaller and fainter. In a few moments, we are high above the moon's surface, leaving behind only a silent descent stage and a scattering of marks in the dust. We feel a mix of gratitude and reluctance as we ascend, grateful for the experiences on this world, and reluctant to leave its quiet beauty behind. As we ascend toward lunar orbit, we watch the horizon expand and the sunlit moonscape spread out below us, one final time. Our lander's ascent stage guides us toward our waiting mothership, which orbits high above. We dock with a gentle shudder. After securing the connection, we float back into the familiar confines of our spacecraft. Peering out, we catch sight of the moon's surface one last time far below. The lander's lower half remains on the ground, a small monument to our time there. We think of the plaque we left on its leg and the flag standing nearby, both quietly proclaiming that humanity was here. It comforts us to know that those tokens will remain on the moon long after we are gone, perhaps greeting the next travelers who come this way. Before we depart lunar orbit, we perform one final, tender act. We activate a small beacon we left behind near our landing site, a tiny automated lamp with a long-lived battery. Down on the Sea of Tranquility, in the shadow of our abandoned lander base, a faint light flickers to life. It casts a gentle glow on the ground where we took our first lunar steps. This beacon is our lantern left at the gate, a symbolic porch light on the moon, left to shine in the lunar night as a sign that humanity has been here and will return again. It will quietly illuminate that patch of grey soil for years to come, a lonely little point of light in the vast darkness, a promise that we have not said goodbye to the moon forever. Now, with our ship ready and our hearts full, we linger for a last few breaths. In the stillness, one of us hums a gentle tune, a lullaby of farewell to this world we've grown to love. Then we fire the main engine and begin the journey away from the moon. As we pull farther back, the moon's entire globe comes into view through our window, a glowing disk of pearl and shadow. We look back at it with affection. In a way, we are leaving a friend at the gate, departing into the dark beyond, while our friend stays to light the doorway. The moon hangs behind us in space like a lantern left on, its pale light still shining toward Earth. We imagine people on our home planet below gazing up at the moon tonight, perhaps not knowing that we are out here beyond it, but finding comfort and wonder in its glow all the same. Ahead of us, the blackness of space beckons once more. Through our window, we can now see both Earth and the moon together, a double jewel in the darkness. The gentle blue star of Earth grows smaller behind us, right beside the moon's soft white beacon. They linger in our view for a long while as we continue onward, two lights of home hanging in the eternal night. We continue onward, carrying the memories of quiet lunar plains and long shadows with us. One of us whispers softly, "We will return," and we all silently agree. With that promise in our hearts, we whisper a quiet thank you and farewell to our lunar companion, knowing that its lantern-like glow will always be there to welcome us home. With that comforting thought, we turn our sights forward, toward the inner solar system and the next phase of our cosmic journey. Our quiet odyssey carries us inward, toward the sun's intimate domain. The darkness of space yields to a hazy glow, and ahead, a tiny world emerges from the twilight. It is Mercury, the innermost planet, a scorched and silent stone circling close to the solar fire. We drift closer, enveloped in a hush broken only by our own thoughts. For here there is no air, no sound, only the deep vacuum and the steady brilliance of the sun nearby. Mercury hangs against the blackness like a pockmarked moon, its surface a tapestry of craters and ancient scars. This little planet races around the sun with incredible speed. Mercury completes one swift orbit in only 88 Earth days, looping around the sun 4 times for every single Earth year. In the sky of Mercury, the sun looms large and blinding, and daylight lasts far longer than on our home world. Because Mercury spins so slowly on its axis, the sun lingers in its sky, bathing the ground in harsh light for months at a time. Daytime on Mercury is a prolonged furnace under a brilliant sky where no clouds ever form, only the sun's fierce glare dominating the airless horizon. As Mercury turns at its leisurely pace, the long day eventually gives way to an equally long night. With no atmosphere to hold on to the heat, the warmth from the scorching day escapes quickly into space. When darkness falls, it falls suddenly. Without air there is no dusk, only instant night and a sky spilling over with stars. The ground that was glowing with heat cools rapidly, plunging to deep cold. In these endless nights, frost can creep into the shadows. Indeed, at Mercury's poles, where the sun's rays never reach certain crater floors, there lie hidden deposits of water ice, gleaming quietly in eternal darkness, a secret reserve of cold in a world so close to the sun's fire. Drifting over Mercury's barren plains, we see craters of every size overlapping in silent testimony to ages of impacts. Each crater is a memory, a story of a meteoroid's swift descent and fiery collision long ago. There are gigantic basins, like the Caloris Basin, an impact scar so vast that its floor was flooded with lava and still bears the ripples of that primordial explosion. Scattered around it are innumerable smaller craters, their rims catching the sunlight to cast sharp, inky shadows. Between the craters lie expanses of broken rock and dust, plains cracked and buckled where the planet's crust cooled and shrank over time. Mercury's entire face is a time capsule from the early solar system, virtually unchanged, a surface that remembers the violence and heat of its birth. In the absence of wind or rain, the landscape remains frozen in time. If we imagine standing on Mercury's surface at noon, the sun would glare nearly 3 times larger than it appears from Earth, flooding the barren ground with light. The sky overhead would be black even at midday, studded with stars that never twinkle in the airless silence. Underfoot, the regolith, fine, powdery dust ground from billions of years of meteor impacts, would lie undisturbed in the feeble gravity. Not far away, perhaps on the horizon, we might glimpse the jagged rim of a distant crater, or the gentle swell of ancient volcanic plains, all illuminated starkly by the high sun. There is no breeze to stir the dust, no clouds to soften the light, only the stillness of a world where time holds its breath. As Mercury moves along its stretched-out orbit, the sun's heat on its surface rises and falls dramatically. At midday, near Mercury's closest approach to the sun, the rocky ground can bake to over 400 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. But once the sun finally sets after its long stay in the sky, the heat swiftly radiates into space, and the temperature plunges to nearly minus 180 degrees Celsius in the coldest part of night. That staggering swing between furnace heat and deep freeze happens with every Mercurian day and night. It is one of the most extreme cycles in the solar system, a testament to Mercury's lack of air and its proximity to the sun's unforgiving blaze. From above, Mercury's appearance hints at these extremes. The land is bright in places where the sun has bleached the surface, and dark in others where shadow and mineral crust linger. We notice bright rays of ejected dust and rock radiating from newer craters, delicate splashes of lighter material fanning out across darker, older terrain. It is as if Mercury wears the record of every impact, etched in light and shadow across its ancient face. Over billions of years, countless meteors have pelted this little world, and yet Mercury endures, scarred but undiminished, silently continuing its rapid journey around the sun. There is a peculiar rhythm to Mercury's dance. The planet rotates exactly 3 times on its axis for every 2 orbits it makes around the sun. This 3-2 resonance ties Mercury's day and year together in an unusual harmony. One sunrise to the next on Mercury spans 2 full Mercurian years. In a way, Mercury's leisurely spin and swift orbit are locked in a cosmic waltz, each long day synchronized with its journey around the sun. For a watcher standing on Mercury, the sun's motion can even defy expectation. Near the planet's closest approach to the Sun, the brilliant solar disk might appear to slow to a halt, even drift backward briefly, before continuing on its way. This curious hesitation in the sky is caused by Mercury's lopsided orbit and synchronized spin, an odd flourish in the planet's slow ballet. Mercury, so small and so close to the Sun, hides a surprisingly large iron heart. Deep inside, most of Mercury's core is metal. Perhaps a colossal impact long ago stripped away its outer layers, leaving a dense nucleus behind. This heavy core still burns hot and liquid in parts, generating a gentle magnetic field that wraps around the planet. Mercury is one of the few solid worlds with its own magnetism, a miniature magnetosphere carved out of the solar wind. Within this tenuous magnetic cocoon, particles from the Sun's wind are guided around Mercury, though some crash into the surface and subtly alter the soil. Even in Mercury's profound silence, the Sun's unseen breath still plays across it, stirring faint auroras at the poles and whispering changes to the dust over the ages. Long ago, skywatchers noticed Mercury's quick, elusive appearances near the Sun. Only in the twilight hours would this tiny wanderer show itself before slipping away again. The ancient Romans named it Mercury, after the swift-footed messenger of the gods, a fitting title for the fastest planet. To those early observers, it was a wandering spark at the horizon, quick and mysterious in its comings and goings. Now, up close, we see that this celestial messenger is a world unto itself, a tiny rocky sphere bearing the scorch marks of creation's fires and the deep chill of cosmic night. Mercury is a silent keeper of stories from the solar system's youth, a small, scarred witness carrying the tales of how planets come to be. Now, we gently bid farewell to Mercury, circling alone in the brilliance of the inner solar system. We leave behind this stone that remembers the Sun's fire, this little world that survives both furnace and frost. As we drift onward, Mercury becomes a bright dot receding near the Sun's glow, half in light and half in shadow, eternally turning. The hush of space enfolds us again. Ahead, a new light beckons farther from the Sun, a pale beacon shrouded in cloud. Our journey carries us outward to the next planet, where a veil of cloud and dream awaits. We approach a brilliant beacon in the twilight, a planet veiled in pearly clouds. This is Venus, second from the Sun, glowing softly like a lamp through fog. From afar, it appears serene and inviting, a smooth globe of white and pale gold, shining with reflected sunlight. Venus is nearly the same size as Earth, and has long been called Earth's sister. But as we draw closer, it becomes clear this sister world is very different. Wrapped in a perpetual haze, Venus hides its surface beneath a thick blanket of cloud, a veil that conceals a realm of intense heat and crushing air. Hovering above the cloud tops, we find ourselves amid a brilliant, pale atmosphere, stretching in all directions. The Sun's light diffuses through layers of sulfuric acid cloud, giving the sky around us a diffuse, lemony glow. Far below the cloud deck, the surface of Venus lies completely hidden from sight. We drift with the high-altitude winds that race around the planet at tremendous speeds, propelling the cloud layers around once every few days. Yet deep below, the planet itself rotates incredibly slowly, and in the opposite direction of its orbit. Venus turns on its axis so sluggishly that one Venusian day, the interval from one sunrise to the next, lasts longer than a full Venusian year. The Sun, if we could see it from the surface, would rise in the west and take nearly 4 months just to travel across the sky to set in the east. It is a strange, sluggish dance beneath those racing clouds. As we drift on the unseen current of Venus's upper air, the scene below is completely hidden by the thick, creamy white overcast. If we could descend through those clouds, the light would turn a dim orange, and the heat would become intense. But even without seeing the ground, we sense the drama unfolding beneath the veil. The air around us is dense and heavy, though up here at the cloud tops, it is cool enough to be bearable. Beneath these pale clouds lies a world of extreme and unrelenting heat. As we sink hypothetically through the cloud layers in our minds, the light would dim to a deep copper twilight, and the pressure would mount rapidly. By the time one neared Venus's surface, the temperature would soar to about 465 degrees C, and the pressure would crush like being 900 meters under the sea. This is a realm utterly hostile to life as we know it, a furnace wrapped in a deceptively gentle-looking veil. Touching down in imagination on Venus's surface, we find a silent, stifling world. The ground is littered with jagged stones and dust, vaguely illuminated by the dull orange light filtering from above. The sky is a featureless blanket of thick cloud stretching from horizon to horizon, never breaking, not even to reveal a single star. Day and night here are alike in their gloom. Only a faint increase in the diffuse glow marks daytime. There is no blue sky, no direct sunlight, only perpetual twilight, as if the entire world is caught in an endless sunset. In this smothering atmosphere, sound would carry far, but there is little to hear. Perhaps the distant rumble of a volcanic eruption, or the whisper of hot winds near the surface. If one could stand here, they would feel the weight of an atmosphere 90 times denser than Earth's pressing on every inch of their body, and a heat so intense it would bake the ground itself. It is an environment both fascinating and forbidding. Truly, it is a dreamlike hellscape hidden beneath a veil of cloud. Venus's surface is young in many places, marked by vast volcanic plains that have been resurfaced by lava in the planet's recent past. Gently rising domes and sprawling calderas dot the landscape, evidence of volcanoes that may still grumble under the suffocating sky. Towering mountains rise far above the plains, but no snow caps these peaks, only a metallic frost from Venus's strange chemistry. The ground underfoot is dry and cracked, a desert of stone where no liquid water flows. Long ago, Venus might have had seas and a gentler climate, but those waters have long since vanished into the atmosphere or space. Now the land is baked and silent, a reminder of how a world so similar in size to Earth can follow a very different path. Despite its harsh conditions, Venus has an uncanny beauty when seen from above. Its layer of cloud, though deadly, gives it a soft and radiant appearance in the sky. For millennia, humans have observed Venus as the morning star and the evening star, the brightest point of light in the sky after the sun and moon. The ancient Romans named it for their goddess of love and beauty, perhaps inspired by its gentle pearl-white shine. To the eye, Venus is indeed beautiful and calm, gliding along its orbit as a beacon in the dawn or dusk. This placid exterior is a stark contrast to the reality below, a reminder that even the loveliest lights in the sky can guard deep mysteries. High above the clouds of Venus, the view is tranquil. The curvature of the planet fades into a white horizon, and beyond it, the blackness of space is punctuated by the distant sun. From here, one would never suspect the ferocity hidden beneath those clouds. The thick atmosphere acts like a blanket, trapping heat in a relentless greenhouse effect that has made Venus a scorching world. It is a lesson in how delicately balanced a planet's climate can be. A little closer to the sun, and Venus became a furnace. We gaze down at this shrouded world and understand it as both a vision of ethereal beauty and a cautionary tale of a runaway climate. For now, we keep our distance, sailing away from Venus and back into the silent gulf of space. The pale veil of clouds slowly recedes behind us, and we carry with us the humbled awe that this planet inspires. In the darkness ahead, our attention turns to the source of all the light and heat that bathe the inner solar system. The sun itself comes into focus, a massive, glowing hearth at the center of our cosmic journey. Leaving the veiled planet behind, we venture nearer to the solar fire, drawn by the steady, gentle radiance of the star that rules these worlds. We draw nearer to the heart of our solar system, sailing in the glow of the sun's embrace. Even from a safe distance, the brilliance of the sun dominates the void, pouring golden light in every direction. We avert our gaze slightly and use protective filters of imagination to look upon our star. Before us hangs a colossal sphere of luminous plasma, its edges softly diffused into space. The darkness of the cosmic ocean around us is held at bay by this one shining presence, a steady beacon that has guided the planets for billions of years. The sun's surface is a mesmerizing sight. What looks from Earth like a flat, blinding disk is up close a living tapestry of texture and motion. We see an ever-shifting pattern of light and dark blotches covering the face of the sun, granules and cells of hot gas rising and falling. These bright granules are enormous, each one larger than entire continents. Yet from here, they flicker and change slowly, like a distant field of golden flowers, blooming and withering in time-lapse. The sun's visible surface boils gently, a slow convection of heat that reminds us of a calm ocean with leisurely swells. It is an ocean of fire spread across 1,000,000 kilometers, glowing and rippling as energy from deep within struggles outward. Scattered across this glowing ocean are darker islands, the sunspots. We notice these spots, some small and some vast, drifting slowly as the sun rotates. They are cooler regions, marked by intense magnetic fields, appearing almost calm and shadowy against the brilliant backdrop. A sunspot may last days or weeks, growing and changing shape languidly before dissipating. In these regions, the sun's magnetic heartbeat becomes visible, hinting at forces beneath the surface. Over an 11-year cycle, the number of sunspots waxes and wanes, as if the sun itself takes a long, slow breath. This rhythmic rise and fall of activity is the star's steady heartbeat, a pattern that is repeated over millennia. At the sun's edges, we witness great luminous arcs lifting off the surface. These are prominences, gigantic loops of glowing gas suspended by magnetic fields. They unfurl in slow motion, reaching far out into space like graceful solar fountains. Some prominences hang for weeks, gently swaying before collapsing back into the sun. Occasionally, a brighter flash appears near a sunspot, a solar flare releasing a burst of energy. But from our distant vantage, these flares are but brief sparkles on the sun's face. We watch in awe as the corona, the sun's outer atmosphere, shimmers beyond the edge of the disk. When we shield the sun's glare, the corona becomes a pale crown extending millions of kilometers into space, its wispy tendrils waving in the solar wind. This faint halo is ever present, visible to us now as a soft aura against the blackness. The light streaming from the sun is not frantic or hurried. It is steady and abundant, flowing outward like a slow river. Every second, countless photons depart the sun's blinding surface, spreading out into space and bringing warmth and illumination to worlds far away. This gentle flood of light bathes Mercury's barren rocks, gilds the clouds of Venus, and gives Earth its life and colour. Farther out, it will shine on the icy moons of Jupiter and the rings of Saturn, though fainter with distance. We let ourselves float in this radiance, feeling the intangible current of energy that has travelled about 8 minutes through space to reach us here. It is a quiet reminder that the sun's light links all parts of the solar system, a continuous presence uniting the planets in its glow. Deep inside the sun's core, nuclear reactions fuse simple atoms into heavier ones, releasing the tremendous energy that powers this glow. Yet all that ferocity at the heart is tempered by the time it reaches the surface. By the time the energy shines into space, it is a nurturing warmth. The sun has burned in this steady way for nearly 5 billion years, and will continue to burn for billions more. In the great span of cosmic time, our sun is a stable, middle-aged star, quietly transforming hydrogen into light. From this stability comes the comfort that each new day on the inner planets will dawn with the sun's rise. As we gently orbit this star at a respectful distance, we sense no sound from it. Space carries no roar from the continuous nuclear fire. Instead, we perceive only light and the subtle tingle of charged particles brushing past our vessel. The sun's energy is delivered silently, a golden hush that nevertheless sustains worlds. Now and then, loops of plasma on the surface shift, or a new spot emerges. But all of it happens with unhurried grace. The scale of the sun's processes makes even the mightiest eruptions appear gradual and stately from our viewpoint. It is as if the sun performs a slow celestial symphony, each photon a note in a never-ending melody of warmth and illumination. We feel the sunlight on our faces, figuratively speaking, as we hover near this great furnace. The sheer brightness makes the surrounding starfield vanish. Here, near the sun, all attention is drawn to the majestic brilliance at the centre. It is a comforting brilliance, as much as it is powerful. The sun holds the solar system in its gravitational embrace and nourishes it with light. Every comet's sparkle, every planet's day, every moon's glint is owed to this central fire. The sun truly is the hearth of our cosmic home, its steady heartbeat marking the passage of time for all orbiting worlds. Having spent a peaceful interval basking in the sun's presence, we prepare to journey onward. We know that the sun is not only a source of light, but also the origin of a constant wind that streams out into space. This solar wind, though invisible to our eyes, is all around us, a faint breath from the star. With the sun warm behind us, we turn now to follow that subtle breeze, to explore how this wind carries the sun's influence across the solar system. We venture further from the sun now, carried along by something we cannot see. All around us, an invisible wind is blowing, a continuous stream of particles racing outward from the sun into the great dark. This is the solar wind, the sun's breath, moving at hundreds of kilometers per second, yet so tenuous that we would never feel it against our skin. In the vacuum of space, it is more a gentle pressure than a gale, a sparse flow of charged particles that glides past us silently. Though our eyes detect nothing, we know it is here, shaping the space through which we travel. As we drift on this unseen current, we imagine unfurling a broad, delicate sail. Immediately, the fabric would catch the faint push of the solar wind, billowing ever so slightly. The force is feeble, far gentler than any breeze on Earth, but over the vast emptiness, it can carry momentum across millions of kilometers. In fact, spacecraft with sunlight-catching sails have been dreamed of and even tested by explorers, using both the light and the wind from the sun to propel them. We too become like a ship on a calm cosmic sea, feeling the faintest push, propelled by the sun's invisible outflow. This wind is composed of charged particles, electrons and protons, that fled the sun's corona at high speed. Each second, millions of tons of this solar material stream outward, yet it is so diffuse that here in interplanetary space, it would be hard to find even a few atoms in a volume the size of a breath. Still, the solar wind carries with it the sun's magnetic fields and a trace of its energy. As it flows past planets, it brushes against their own magnetic shields, sculpting them into teardrop shapes. Earth, for instance, is enveloped in a magnetic field that the solar wind stretches out into a long tail on the night side of the planet. When gusts of the solar wind slam into Earth's magnetosphere, they send charged particles down along magnetic lines into the upper atmosphere. There, those particles light up the auroras in curtains of green and red. In this way, the invisible wind announces itself in polar skies, turning intangible energy into shimmering color. Not all worlds have a strong magnetic shield. On the Moon and on Mars, the solar wind collides directly with the surface, or with what little atmosphere there is, slowly wearing them down over eons. It whispers away atmospheric particles from those planets that cannot protect themselves, one subtle gust at a time. Yet the wind also leaves more creative marks. It charges the lunar soil and may spark faint glows on the night side of the Moon. It even implants atoms from the sun into the dust of airless worlds. Everywhere it goes, this delicate breeze carries the sun's influence, an ethereal touch reaching across space. We look ahead and notice a traveler crossing the solar wind. A comet has entered the inner solar system. As the comet's frosty nucleus warms near the sun, it releases gas and dust, forming a luminous tail. The solar wind immediately takes hold of this material, pushing it straight away from the sun. Now the comet's tail streams out like a long ribbon, fluttering in the solar breeze. It is a stunning example of the wind's handiwork, an invisible force giving shape to something visible and beautiful. The dust reflects sunlight, and the ionized gases glow, forming twin tails that always point away from our star, no matter which direction the comet moves. We watch as the comet races onward, its bright trains of vapor and dust drawn out and guided by the sun's breath. Farther out, the solar wind continues its journey, expanding ever wider and gentler. Many billions of kilometers from here, the wind will eventually thin to a halt, where the pressure of particles from distant stars balances the sun's own. That boundary, the edge of the heliosphere, is the frontier of our sun's domain. Inside it, the solar wind reigns, defining a great bubble in space that encompasses all the planets, moons, and countless smaller bodies. We are sailing within that bubble now, carried outward by the steady, faint breeze. It is humbling to realize that this quiet wind has been blowing since the birth of the sun, and will persist for as long as our star lives, connecting every part of the solar system in its subtle flow. Guided by the solar wind, we allow it to usher us further from the sun. Up ahead, the bright streak of the comet leads us onward, inviting us to follow. We find ourselves drawn to this visitor with a snowy heart, this long-tailed wanderer telling tales of far-off places. with the sun's wind at our back and curiosity lighting our way, we set course to join the comet on its journey, eager to explore the story it carries in its glowing trail. We fly alongside the comet now, a true visitor from the outer darkness. Up close, the comet's source is a small nucleus at its heart, an irregular mountain of ice and rock only a few kilometers across. Its surface is charcoal dark, coated in dust and organic material accumulated over eons. As the sun's warmth penetrates this frozen core, bright jets of vapor erupt from its crust. Geysers of gas and dust burst forth into space, forming a growing halo around the speeding nucleus. This halo, the coma, is a gauzy cloud of water vapor, carbon dioxide, and dust that makes the comet appear like a fuzzy star from afar. In the sunlight, the coma glows softly, a temporary atmosphere for the tiny world at its core. Riding alongside, we witness the splendor of the comet's tails unfurling behind it. The pressure of sunlight and the flow of the solar wind sweep the released gas and dust into enormous streams that extend millions of kilometers into space. One tail is composed of dust, pale and diffuse. It curves gently along the comet's path, reflecting sunlight in a golden haze. The other tail is made of ionized gases glowing a faint blue, stretched straight away from the sun by magnetic forces. Both tails shimmer as the comet hurtles around the sun, flaunting a luminous train that dwarfs the nucleus. We watch as new material continuously feeds into the tails from the nucleus's jets. It replaces what dissipates into space. It is as if the comet is a storyteller, trailing glowing chapters of its journey for anyone who cares to look up at the sky. This wandering emissary has come a very long way. Perhaps it spent most of its life in the deep freeze of the Oort cloud, a shell of distant icy bodies at the far edge of the solar system. There, the comet remained in cold storage, preserving primitive ice and dust from the birth of the sun. A slight disturbance, maybe a passing star's gravity, sent it inward on a long, sunward plunge. As the comet neared the inner solar system for the first time in ages, it began to awaken, its ice vaporizing in the sun's rays. It now swings around the sun in a grand arc, whipping through the inner worlds with its bright tails in tow. In a few months, having rounded the sun, it will head back toward the outer reaches, its tails fading and its coma collapsing back onto its cooling nucleus. Some comets make this voyage often, looping around the sun every few decades or centuries. Others, like this visitor, may not return for millennia. In ages past, the sudden appearance of a comet's brilliant tail stirred awe and fear in human hearts. Today we understand these travelers better, yet the sense of wonder remains. We know that comets carry some of the oldest materials in the solar system, water ice and complex molecules that predate Earth's formation. It is possible that long ago, comets like this one delivered water and organic ingredients to the young Earth, seeding the oceans and perhaps aiding the emergence of life. In that sense, they are truly cosmic messengers, bringing the story of our beginnings and the raw materials of life across the gulf of space. For now, we travel in tandem with the comet as it moves beyond the orbit of Mars, gradually slowing on its outbound journey. The sun grows smaller behind us, and the comet's tails begin to shrink and dissipate without the constant heat to sustain them. Before long, the vivid display will be gone, and the comet will retreat into the quiet and cold of the outer solar system once more. It leaves behind a faint trail of dust in its orbital path, a memory of its visit that will linger in space. The spectacle fades, but its memory remains with us. With a parting glance at this splendid wanderer, we let it go on its way. Our attention now turns toward the space ahead, where countless smaller stones circle the sun. In the distance lies the asteroid belt, a broad band of ancient rocks and fragments. We set our course toward that realm of small stones and wide stories. We are ready to explore the quiet histories preserved there. We drift into the realm of the asteroids, a broad expanse where countless small rocks circle the sun. Unlike the tidy paths of the inner planets, this region feels quieter and more scattered. The asteroid belt is mostly empty space, but here and there, sunlight glints off the surface of a lone tumbling stone. These asteroids are the leftovers of creation, pieces of a planet that never came to be. As we move among them, we feel the deep calm of a place that has changed little in billions of years. Ahead of us floats an ancient asteroid, irregular in shape and pocked with craters. We draw near and slowly hover above its grey, boulder-strewn surface. The gravity is so weak that a gentle step could send one leaping off into space. The ground below is blanketed in fine dust from countless micrometeoroid impacts. Some craters overlap others, recording an endless history of collisions in this crowded neighbourhood. In the distance, we see the dark profile of another asteroid slowly rotating, a distant cousin sharing the same eternal orbit. There is no sound here, only the faint golden light of the distant sun and the backdrop of stars. This silence and stillness have reigned for ages, as these stones quietly orbit in their celestial lane. Not all asteroids are alike. Some, like the one beneath us, are carbon-rich and as dark as coal, holding organic molecules and water-bearing minerals, primordial ingredients from the solar system's youth. Others are made mostly of silicate rock, shining slightly brighter. A rare few are metallic, gleaming with iron and nickel, the shattered cores of long-vanished protoplanets. Scattered as they are, these rocks can tell wide-ranging stories. One asteroid might be a fragment from the birth of the planets, virtually unchanged since it formed. Another might be a piece of a larger body that was torn apart by a catastrophic impact eons ago. We even find pairs and families of asteroids travelling together, the products of ancient collisions that gave them shared orbits and origins. Each group of stones is like a family photograph, preserving the moment of an immense event frozen in time. As we navigate through this region, we sense the invisible influence of Jupiter not far beyond. The giant planet's gravity long ago disrupted the formation of a world here. Instead of gathering into one planet, the material between Mars and Jupiter remained as rubble. Jupiter's pull stirs and perturbs the asteroids' paths even now, occasionally flinging one toward the inner planets or out into the void. But for the most part, these rocks keep to their gentle orbits, engaged in a slow cosmic ballet. They carry in their silence the memories of a solar system still forming, a time when dust and stones clumped together, and when a slight change of fate could have built or destroyed a world. Sometimes, pieces of these asteroids stray from their home and find their way to Earth. As meteorites, they land on our world's surface, allowing us to touch a fragment of space and time. Holding a meteorite, one holds a piece of the asteroid belt, a cooled droplet of the early solar nebula, or a shard of a long-lost mini-planet. Through such fragments, we have learned of the age and composition of our solar system's building blocks. It is humbling to think that these quiet rocks drifting in darkness have influenced the story of life on Earth by delivering metals, water, and perhaps even the seeds of chemistry. Amid the multitude of asteroids, one stands out from the rest. In the distance, we spot a spherical body much larger than the typical rugged rock, the dwarf planet Ceres. It is the queen of this realm, holding a third of the belt's total mass in its dark, round form. Ceres is big enough that its own gravity has shaped it into a globe, and it harbours secrets of its own, perhaps reservoirs of ice beneath its crust, and mysterious bright spots that glint on its surface. With curiosity guiding us, we set our course toward this intriguing world. The smaller stones fade behind us as we prepare to visit Ceres, to explore the dark brightness that awaits on its alien plains. Ceres emerges from the darkness ahead, a gentle sphere amid the scattering of asteroids. Unlike the jagged rocks around it, Ceres is rounded by its own gravity, a dwarf planet adrift between Mars and Jupiter. Its surface is dusky and dim, absorbing most of the sunlight that falls on it. As we draw closer, we see that this world is painted in deep charcoal tones, marred by craters from innumerable impacts. Yet amid the darkness, there are hints of unusual brightness, delicate gleams on Ceres's face that catch the eye like stars on a moonless night. We descend towards Ceres's surface, and the sunlight here feels like an earthly dusk. The sun is smaller and fainter at this distance, casting a dim blue glow across the terrain. We hover above a broad plain dotted with craters. In one large crater below, something unexpected shines. A cluster of brilliant spots glinting on the crater floor, like a handful of mirrors catching the sun. These spots glimmer icy white, standing out sharply on Ceres's dark skin. Their glow is not from artificial light, but from salts, the residue of briny water that once seeped up and evaporated, leaving behind highly reflective mineral deposits. Here, in the quiet of Ceres's afternoon, those salt flats catch the sun's fading light and gleam like distant beacons. All around, Ceres's plains stretch out in muted tones. We notice a solitary mountain on the horizon, its slopes gently rising from the surrounding terrain. It is unlike the jagged peaks of the Moon or Mars. This dome-like mound may be a cryovolcano, built by the slow oozing of muddy ice instead of molten rock. Ceres is a world of subtlety and secrets. Though mostly dormant now, its smooth contours and those enigmatic bright spots hint at a once active interior. Ceres holds a great deal of water ice in its mantle, and perhaps some liquid water deep below. A brine-rich slurry could have percolated up through fractures to the surface, creating those shining salt deposits. In this small, cold world, we still see the fingerprints of past geologic activity and internal heat. This dwarf planet stands at a crossroads in the solar system. Ceres orbits near what astronomers call the frost line, the boundary beyond which water remains frozen. It is a mix of rock and ice, a bridge between the inner, drier worlds and the outer, icy realms. In a sense, Ceres is a dwarf world between worlds. It carries the dark, rocky makeup of the asteroids, but also harbours the bright glint of ice like the moons of the outer planets. For billions of years, Ceres has quietly circled the sun, preserving within it clues about the early solar system's blend of materials. Its surface, shadowy with carbon and clay, might even hold organic compounds, adding to the narrative of what ingredients existed at the dawn of planet formation. We linger for a moment in the dim light on Ceres's surface. The scene is tranquil and forlorn, a twilight landscape where the sun's glow is soft and the shadows long. Overhead, the sky is black and strewn with stars, unblinking in the airless night. No sound disturbs this dwarf planet's solitude. Standing here, it is easy to feel the weight of deep time. Ceres has witnessed eons pass in silence, its craters recording the slow cadence of impacts, and its bright scars whispering of water and heat in its past. Our mission now calls us onward. As we bid farewell to Ceres, we notice a faint gauzy band of light along the plane of the solar system. It is the zodiacal light, sunlight reflecting off countless tiny dust grains that permeate the inner solar system. This subtle glow and the dust that causes it are like a cosmic clock, keeping time with every fragment and meteor that moves through space. Drawn by this gentle luminosity, we prepare to follow it. Ahead lies the realm of cosmic dust and falling stars, where even the smallest specks can tell the story of time. Out beyond Mars's orbit, the glow of the zodiacal light guides us through the dusk of space. This faint band of light is the combined gleam of countless dust grains scattered in the plane of the solar system. Each particle is tiny, no bigger than a grain of sand or a particle of smoke. Yet together, they form a tenuous cloud that catches the sunlight. We sail through this invisible haze, and though we cannot see the individual specks around us, we see their collective effect, a gentle brightness stretching along the zodiac in the sky. It is as if the echo of daylight lingers here, a subtle reminder that even in the depths of space, the cast-off bits of comets and collisions continue to shine. These dust motes are ancient remnants of comets shedding their material and asteroids grinding down through impacts. Over time, every comet that passes near the Sun leaves behind a trail of fine debris, and each asteroid collision contributes a spray of new grains. The Sun's radiation and the solar wind push on these fragments, herding them into streamers and rings that slowly spiral inward. In the silence of space, this dust drifts for eons before eventually falling into the Sun or being swept away. In the meantime, it serves as a cosmic timekeeper, marking the cycles and events of the solar system. There was once far more dust in our system when it was young. The zodiacal light would have blazed brighter in those early epochs. As the ages pass, the solar system's dust is gradually depleted, a slow dimming that mirrors the quieting of collisions and the settling of cosmic debris. The gentle fading of the zodiacal glow is like the ticking of a very slow clock, counting down the eras of our solar system. Now and then, Earth or another planet sweeps through one of these dust streams, and we witness a brief, beautiful shower of meteors. On a dark night, a watcher might see a dozen shooting stars an hour, each one a tiny grain of solar system dust burning up in the atmosphere. These meteors streak overhead, lasting only a second, but each is a cosmic memory flashing before our eyes. Many meteor showers arrive annually, appearing at the same time each year as Earth revisits the debris trail of an ancient comet. In this way, the calendar of the heavens is kept by dust. The return of each meteor shower is like the turning of a cosmic page, marking the regular rhythms of the solar system. Beyond the spectacle of meteor showers, the dust itself continues its quiet journey. Tiny meteoroids pelt the surfaces of airless moons and asteroids, peppering them with microscopic craters and slowly turning sharp rocks into soft regolith. In the lunar soil brought back by astronauts, we found the charred remains of comet dust and asteroid fragments, recording an ongoing patter that has counted the passing years like drops in an ancient rain. Even our own atmosphere collects interplanetary dust. Every day, hundreds of tons of fine cosmic grains settle onto Earth's surface, adding imperceptibly to our planet's mass. We are, in a small but real way, gathering the dust of our solar system as time goes by. In the dim glow of the zodiacal light, we take a final moment to contemplate the journey of these grains. From the formation of the planets to the present day, cosmic dust has been a persistent companion, a delicate chronicle of collisions and passages. It connects the drama of the great planets with the minutiae of falling stars. It is humble, yet it carries the history of the solar system etched in its tiny existence. Even the smallest speck can be a record of cosmic history in miniature. Our vessel now leaves the realm of the inner solar system, where dust and sunlight interweave their stories. The zodiacal light tapers off behind us, and ahead the sky grows darker and the spaces wider. We turn our gaze toward the outer reaches, where the giants of cold and gas reside. It is a faint road outward, marked by a broadening distance between worlds and a deepening night. With the sun's distant glow at our back, we set course toward the outer planets, ready to cross into the kingdom of the giants and the far frontier beyond. As we leave Ceres and the inner regions behind, we venture onto the faint road outward. With each passing million miles, the sun shrinks a little more, its light gentler, its warmth ebbing. The spaces between worlds grow wider here. Where the inner planets were spaced like stepping stones, now we face vast stretches of emptiness, separating the domains of the outer giants. We glide through this deepening night, with the sun's distant glow at our backs, bound for the realm of the cold giants. Ahead, we can just make out a pale speck that brightens gradually. Jupiter, the first of the outer planets, beckoning us onward through the darkness. We find ourselves at a natural pause point, a cosmic waypoint beside the solar system's snowline. Here, roughly at Jupiter's distance from the Sun, the star's warmth has diminished enough that water remains frozen in shadow. Frost and ice become common on the surfaces of moons and asteroids out here, painting them in brighter hues than the soot-dark rocks closer in. It is a threshold of change, the boundary between the warmer inner solar system and the frigid outer expanse. We allow our ship to drift quietly in this silent harbour of space. Behind us, the faint glow of the inner system's dust and the warm lights of the inner planets are now far away. Ahead of us, Jupiter looms larger by the hour, its banded disk beginning to distinguish itself from a star-like point. We pause here in the semi-darkness, letting our eyes adjust to the soft, cold light. This is a gentle interlude before the next stage of our journey. In the stillness, we reflect on how far we have come, from the sun's furnace through worlds of rock and metal, and how far we have yet to go. The giants await just beyond, and with renewed wonder, we prepare to cross the threshold and continue our odyssey into the outer solar system.